Finally, the rain and the cold is all gone in New York City. We've got an absolutely fantastic day. Why not take a walk in the park? Just get outside and enjoy the scenery. And also, it's a great day for baseball, you know, and an old-fashioned doubleheader this afternoon at Citi Field. From Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play host to the Colorado Rockies. In today's game presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. Hi, everyone, and welcome inside Citi Field. Just a fantastic day for baseball. And let's play two. We'll do it today as the Mets look to take two from Colorado and even this four-game series. And boy, do the Mets really need it. Think about this. Mets started off this year at 3-1. Good feelings, playing good baseball, but since have lost 6 of 7 games, and they desperately need a win, if not 2 here today. And when you think about the first 2 games of this series, it's been all about the Rockies all-star shortstop, Troy Tulowitzki. He has delivered. Remember, had that great September last year with 15 home runs, player of the month. Well, here's what he's done in this series. On Monday night, the big hit in the 8th inning, the home run off Bobby Parnell. That was the dagger in that game, but it wasn't just the offense. How about the defense the half inning before? Robbing Daniel Murphy. Look at that play. That took away what would have put the Mets in front. And then, of course, the home run. It was all Tulowitzki on Monday night. But then last night it didn't end. Off Jonathan Neese in the 5th, Tulo extending the arms, a 3-run jack into the fog to right, and that gave the Rockies the edge that they would never relinquish. Another 1-run victory for Colorado last night. So you look at this afternoon, game 1 for the Mets. They've got R.A. Dickey on the mound, and Dickey, you remember, started the home opener for this team against the Nationals. And in that game, in the first inning, he split a fingernail in his right index finger. It's a big problem when you're a knuckleball pitcher. Now, he had to file the nail down and still got through 5 innings of that game. The good news is he's putting some nail hardeners on there. He's been working it, drinking a lot of milk all week. He says the nail is good, and he should be ready to go here in game number 1. Meanwhile, for Colorado, they've got a 6'7" former first-round pick, Greg Reynolds, on the hill. He's essentially the guy that's filling in for Ubaldo Jimenez. And by the way, Greg Reynolds, a little bit of trivia, went to Terra Nova High School out in California, same high school as Keith Hernandez. Maybe there's a little symmetry there. We'll find out. So it's Dickey and Reynolds in game 1. Mets a doubleheader against the Rockies on a great day for baseball. We've got the first pitch coming up next on SNY. New York Mets baseball on SOI, brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By McFadden's, buy your all-inclusive McFadden's game day package today. Includes food, drinks, and a ticket to the game. Purchase at Mets.com/McFadden's. By your Tri-State Ford dealers. And by RPL Equipment from Midtown to Montauk for all your contracting needs. Visit us online at rplequipments.com. Well, you can enjoy a Mets game this season at Citi Field in BJ's Clubhouse. Tickets start at just $10 for kids and $20 for adults. Plus, Mr. Met visits every single game. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com right now. Game one of an old-fashioned double dip, Mets and Rockies. Gary Cohen and Ronnie Darling standing by. They've got the call when we come back.
The most famous fingernail in New York, ready to go on a beautiful afternoon. 2 for the price of 1 at Citi Field as the Mets and Rockies play a traditional straight doubleheader. 1 game complete, then a half an hour, and then game 2. Gary Cohen and Ron Darling with you from the broadcast booth as the Mets get set to play the Rockies. And in the wake of Terry Collins' post-game comments yesterday saying, hey, we're only a swing away, a pitch away from being 9-2, but we need to go 9-2 in the next 11 games. There were a lot of strong words from Terry yesterday.
Boy, he really threw down the gauntlet, didn't he? But I think, what's good about it is that in the heat of battle, right after a game, he was hot. And he couldn't wait to get this out of his system. And I think that, if we look at it literally, it can be a little funny. It can be hard to go 9-2 any team. But I think what he's showing us is that he has a real passion. It really hurts him when they don't play well. When they lose close games, it's something that really affects him almost physically as well as mentally. So I like that aspect of it. And also throwing the gauntlet down to his team saying, hey, listen, we have been in every game, but we have to start winning these games and figuring out how to do it. And the way you do it is your best players come up with big plays.
And before he said those words publicly. He said them to his team. It was only about a couple of minutes. He kept the door closed. But as Angel Pagan said, it was a wake-up call. Now, you wouldn't think that a team would need a wake-up call 11 games into the season, but how does that work exactly?
Well, I think for Terry, I think what has happened in the past here is that the organization has felt, you know what, it's a tough game. Let's address it tomorrow. And he's not an address it tomorrow kind of guy. If it is hurting him, he is going to address it to his team. And I don't know if it's a wake-up call as much as, hey, guys, we're playing really well in these close games, but we have to find a way to win them. I'm not going to be rely or settle for us playing well. We need to win.
And Terry Collins would love to get a couple of wins today, but they'll take them one at a time. Here's the first game lineup for the Colorado Rockies, brought to you by Ford. 40-year-old Jason Giambi gets his first start in this series. Troy Tulowitzki, though, has been front and center. Home runs in each of the first two games, both of them huge blows. The first game providing the cushioning that the Rockies needed in a one-run win, and the 3-run go-ahead home run in the 5th inning off John Neese yesterday. And so the Rockies off to a 5-1 start on the road where they usually struggle.
Well, R.A. Dickey, you can see his numbers. The number that stands out so far is 11 innings pitched, 8 walks. That is something that's going to have to change. Remember that start we talked about his hurting his nail. There were 9 walks by the Mets pitchers that day. Those are Verizon numbers. No home runs. And here's the Mets defense. You got Harris and Hairston flanking Angel Pagan today in the outfield. Hairston playing in right field for Beltran, who's going to play in the second game. Right, Reyes Murphy playing more and more because his defense has been great. Also his offense. Ike Davis has gotten off to a great start. And Josh Tolley so far has been good behind the plate. He's going to have to be better than he was catching R.A. Dickey than in the last game.
Jason Giambi, who testified at the Barry Bonds trial, which came to a conclusion yesterday. Giambi giving a lot of details during that trial about his steroid use, details that he had not given before, even though he had vaguely apologized for his prior actions publicly.
It's funny what you'll say once you have to put that hand on the Bible.
Dexter Fowler will lead things off. Big afternoon of baseball here. Mets playing their first doubleheader of the season. Do you know that the Rockies' wins the last 2 games constitute the first back-to-back victories for Colorado in New York since 1998? That's how much Colorado has struggled both at Shea and at Citi Field, but not so far in this series. Fowler 1 for 5 in the series, and Dickey's first pitch of the day is a fastball hit in the air to center field. And right there waiting for it is Angel Pagan. 1 pitch and 1 out. So Fowler retired on the first pitch. And Seth Smith will stand in. Smith has had a nice series, 3 for 8 with a double and a triple, hitting at .324 for the year.
You've been really impressed, haven't you, with his approach offensively. He just has an idea up there what the pitcher is trying to do to get him out, and really makes that adjustment.
Not a great defensive outfielder, so they give away a little bit there. But we were talking about this last night. The Rockies are a rare team where their best defensive outfielder is their left fielder.
It's very strange to see that. Gonzalez, who could play any of the positions really, is by far their best outfielder. But in Coors Field, that left field is more important than other fields because it's so vast.
First knuckleball from Dickey is in for a strike, or misses, excuse me, 2-0. Seth Smith and Carlos Gonzalez for the Rockies in the first. And that knuckleball in for a strike, 2-1. Now, we've talked a lot about Dickey's fingernail, which snagged when he threw a pitch in the first inning to Ryan Zimmerman in his last start, and he filed it down and really didn't have that fingernail available to dig into the baseball for the rest of that start, and probably led to his control issues. What's the difference in the way that a fingernail affects a knuckleball pitcher compared to a conventional pitcher?
Well, when a conventional pitcher, when they are holding the baseball, they will hurt a nail, but they'll hurt it because, see the ground ball here to Ike Davis for the second out, because they will catch a seam. The difference is a knuckleball pitcher, he is putting those fingernails into the seam. So it's almost like you're digging your nails into the seam, and what happens is when you push that baseball out, that's when you can crack that nail, and that's what happened to R.A. Dickey. So the chances of you hurting your nails, knuckleball pitcher, exponentially more than a standard pitcher.
R.A. was asked whether he went to a nail salon to get his fingernails tapered and shaped. He said, I wouldn't trust anybody else. He does it himself. And he does it with not an emery board, but a glass nail file, which I had never even heard of.
Yeah, I have not heard of that. I used to always have to go, once I started throwing the split finger, because I broke my thumb, could not throw a breaking ball really anymore. And I went to the split finger. See the grip? How he's just, those nails are just tucked into the seams of that baseball. Almost like you're trying to jam them in there.
Gonzalez lifts one to left. Willie Harris drifting to the line, and a very good first inning for Dickey, who generally has impeccable first innings, and that's the case today. Geico Mets starting lineup for game one today. Third straight start for Daniel Murphy. Jose Reyes, a 10-game hitting streak. Scott Hairston gets a rare start in right field. We have the doubleheader today. Carlos Beltran will start game two. Mets averaging just under 5 runs per game. But because the pitching has struggled, just 4 wins in their first 11 games, and today they take on right-hander Greg Reynolds.
Well, Ubaldo Jimenez out with the bad thumb. Greg Reynolds gets a start. Was in that 2006 draft, the second player taken, 6'7" out of Stanford. His 16th appearance, 15th start in the big leagues, third against the Mets.
Jose Reyes leads things off. He has 3 bunt hits already this year, most in the majors, and bluffs the bunt on the first pitch. Mets have scored in the first inning each of their last 4 games. And quite opposite to R.A. Dickey, Reynolds has struggled in the first inning in his brief big league career. He has an 11.57 first inning ERA. And so the Mets looking to get off to another fast start. Mets have lost 3 of those 4 games, but they have gotten off well. Reynolds behind on Reyes 2-0, and Jose taking all the way. It's a strike.
You can see Reynolds, not a particularly hard thrower, throws in the low 90s, good breaking ball. He's one of those kids that was just so great in college, but has not had a chance to really be healthy the last couple of seasons.
Reyes pops up the bunt attempt, and the catcher Morales goes out to get it, caught it in foul ground for the first out. So Reyes couldn't get that bunt down, and that's the first out. And Daniel Murphy will step in. Murphy just 2 for 9 in this series, but he was robbed of a couple of hits. He had a hit in a big spot in the game last night with a double to drive in a run. And he's made some spectacular defensive plays as well.
You know, it was interesting. Terry Collins was saying before the game that he enjoyed the athleticism of Murphy at other positions in spring training, but he didn't see him do a lot of great things at second base during the spring.
And the overhand curveball from Reynolds in for a strike.
And here's the Coors Light Rockies defense. Gonzalez, who threw some gold at Pagan in that first game, throwing him out, trying to stretch a single into a double. Tulowitzki has had an amazing game. Giambi getting the start at first base. And Morales, the ex-twin, getting the start behind the plate.
Murphy's seeing a couple of curveballs from Reynolds to start him off, and it's 0-2. Well, the thing about spring training is you had so many people, as you look at Reynolds' first inning numbers, you had so many people competing for that second base job. Murphy really didn't get a chance to play there all that much, and when he did, he really wasn't tested a whole lot, particularly, and even this is carried over into the season, in terms of turning double plays. In fact, if you go back to spring training and Murphy's second base games so far this year, I think there's been only one double play that he's been in the middle of, which is obviously very unusual. So we haven't had a chance to see really whether he can handle that aspect of it. Popped up, shallow left, and Carlos Gonzalez coming in. And he loses it in the sun. No sunglasses for Carlos Gonzalez on a sunny day, and it costs him, and Murphy winds up at second base. How do you go out there without sunglasses on a day like today?
I don't understand it. That's something that at least you got to have in your back pocket. And to lose it in the sun, and he's, of course, we talked about his gold glove. Certainly not gold there. It was more of a bronze decision.
They're going to score at a double, which is very charitable. You know, to me, if you're wearing sunglasses, then it's a double.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing sunglasses, that's an error.
That's right.
And Tulowitzki supplies Gonzalez with the shades a little late. That's Tulowitzki taking charge again.
Tulowitzki does it all, doesn't he? I mean, you wouldn't be surprised that he would cook the post-game meal.
Does he wash the uniforms? Shine the shoes?
He's just...
So a chance for the Mets with Murphy at second with a gift double. And David Wright, the batter. David 3 for 8 in this series, including a home run on Monday night, hitting .311 on the year. And Reynolds with a look.
You know, that decision for Tulowitzki to go grab the sunglasses and give it to him, a lot of players don't want to get embarrassed. They don't want to embarrass themselves by going to get the glasses. He's like, hey, enough already. Here's the glasses, whether you like it or not.
To a certain extent, that's a shot that he's taken at his fellow core star player on this team. But you know, Gonzalez knows Tulowitzki well enough to know that, hey, he's going to do what's best for the team, and what's best for the team is for Carlos Gonzalez to be able to see the ball in the sun. Want to know to right with Ike Davis sitting cleanup, waiting on deck. And David lifts one down the right field line on a slice and go foul. 1-1. Here's Ike waiting on deck. Good numbers for Wright with runners in scoring position. He has been doing a great job of going back to being the David Wright who hits the ball to right center field. A nice way for David to start the season. Short lead for Murphy at second. And Wright fouls it off.
Well, it's very interesting to watch the Mets pitchers and the Rockies pitchers to approach David Wright in this series. They've been trying to pitch him inside a lot. And the two stars of this team, one of the stars for the Mets, Wright, of course, and Tulowitzki for the Rockies, the Mets pitchers have not pitched Tulowitzki inside. That's something that they're going to have to do in these two games today if they're going to try to get him out.
One and two now to David, and it's fouled off.
Well, he had a pitch to hit there, a high hanging changeup, just sitting on a tee, and David was just a little quick.
Only half of his hits already this season have gone to right field. That's a nice trend for David, who can still turn on the inside pitch, but his focus has got to be away. again. Fouls it off.
Well, even better, if you watch his approach with 2 strikes here, it is certainly up the middle and the other way. And I think that's the great thing that David is doing this season. He got a little underneath this one, but you can see those eyes on the baseball, and that approach is going up the middle the other way.
That saw Greg Reynolds twice during the 08 season. But then he missed most of the last 2 years with injuries and trying to fight his way back at age 25. Murphy at second and 1 out. And that off-speed pitch misses 2-2.
Well, it must be a Stanford thing here. Mr. Reynolds, it's very deliberate in his coming back with the pitch, very much like Mike Mussina was.
Mussina, the all-time winningest pitcher from Stanford. Who's second on that list? Jim Lonborn.
Oh, of course.
We got a 67 Red Sox reference 2 nights in a row.
I love it.
Here's the 2-2, and the curveball pulled down to third, and Murphy runs around the tag attempt by Stewart, but is eventually tagged out. What could Murphy have been thinking? Did he think there were 2 outs? A base running blunder by Daniel Murphy for the second out.
Well, it's a simple ground ball to Stewart. He's going to go to first base until he sees here Murph trying to beat him to the bag. Now, he didn't call him out until the tag, but obviously he's out of the baseline. But the call by the third base ump, a little late. Jim Wolf is that Murphy's out. I mean, Murph could have shook hands with Carlos Gonzalez in left field before he got to third base.
Well, if he wasn't out of the baseline, I'm not sure he was out at third. He might have gotten his hand in, but in any event, it's a play that Murphy never should have attempted because, well, again, he must have thought there were 2 out. That's the only explanation. So now Ike Davis with right at first and 2 out. And when you have a manager call out his team the night before a doubleheader game and then have an egregious base running mistake made in the first inning of the game, and it does look like he was out. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's got to drive the manager absolutely berserk. You saw the Mercedes-Benz Ultramo, brought to you by your Tri-State dealers, on the web at searchmercedes.com.
The only problem you have when you call out your team, some guys react in different ways, and some guys get foolishly aggressive and trying to create things.
Takes a little pressure off Carlos Gonzalez after going out there without sunglasses. So you've had a mental error on both sides. Maybe it's just a matter of folks not having quite woken up yet.
It's the 12 o'clock game. That's what it is, Gary.
The Rockies, as they have often in this series, putting the full shift on against Ike Davis. 3 infielders on the right side. Fastball misses 1-1. Ike failed to drive in a run last night. Only the second game this season that he hasn't driven in a run. That's just 4 for 19 with runners in scoring position in this series. And for the season now, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, the Mets are hitting 176. And that's one of the things that Terry mentioned during his post-game talk last night, that they've got to start getting some 2-out hits.
And sometimes that's just bearing down more. And I think it also, not only the offense, but also the defense with the pitching. They've allowed 23 2-out runs.
You see that number. It's 9 for 52 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Last night, they constantly were getting 2-out hits to put runners in scoring position, just not able to get them home. Sinking fastball by Reynolds, and it's 1-2.
Well, this pitch right here, you watch Ike Davis's approach, just beat by that good moving fastball from Reynolds. Just reaching for that shot. If he can try to direct that the other way, he will work against the shift. Should get himself a base hit.
And we have seen, I mean, Ike is a guy who has a lot of power to left center field. It's nice to see the 86 Mets gathered with a couple of newcomers.
Very rarely see any of those guys out at a 12 o'clock game. Very good, guys. Good job.
Here's the 1-2, and the sinker misses outside 2-2. Terry Collins has been effusive in his praise for Ike Davis's knowledge of the strike zone. Feels as though Ike has been actually called out on a couple of pitches that were not strikes this year, but that he's done a very good job of identifying the edges of the strike zone and producing long at bats. There goes right. Davis dribbles one, and that's a foul ball. So Wright was on his way on a 2-2 pitch.
In these 12 o'clock games or first games of doubleheaders, just by pure hustle alone, you can sometimes get the jump on teams. Be readier to play than they are.
Reynolds has thrown 20 pitches already in this opening inning. Wright was running on the last pitch. Giambi holding him on. Not going, and Davis shoots one foul down the left side. This is a nice day to be sitting in the stands. Yeah. It's in the 50s, so it's a little cool, but in the sunshine, it's very nice.
Yeah, get yourself a seat in the sun. 21 pitches already for Mr. Reynolds.
Well, as Lindsey Nelson used to say, it's a lot of baseball here today. If you're in the neighborhood, stop on by.
Very nice.
2-2 to Davis. This will be the 6th pitch of the at bat, and Ike badly fooled on the changeup to end the inning. First strikeout for Reynolds, and the Mets failed to score in the first. The 2011 season are on sale now at Mets.com. Create a pack of 5, 11, or 17 games, plus all flex packs include a ticket for a bonus game. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com now for your tickets. And Troy Tulowitzki, who's been front and center in this series, leads off the second inning against R.A. Dickey. And the first pitch, knuckleball in for a strike. Tulowitzki 5 for 8 in the first 2 games of the series with a double, 2 home runs, and 6 RBIs. He not only leads Major League shortstops in home runs, he leads the National League. And 3rd in RBIs. And this is from a guy who generally over the course of his career has had very difficult Aprils.
The last 2 seasons he's finished in the top 5 in the MVP voting, and this quick start for him this year is going to have him the talk of baseball.
Certainly the talk of the Mets clubhouse, and he strokes one the other way. How about that? 6 hits and 9 at bats for Tulowitzki, and he's the first base runner of the day for the Rockies.
Now it's harder to talk about R.A. Dickey pitching him inside because it's always going to be the knuckleball. But the key with Tulowitzki is that he will react to how you throw him. If you're going to consistently pitch him outside, he's going to shoot it that way. And we saw last night that he has enough power if he gets under one.
So a runner aboard with nobody out, and Jason Giambi the batter. Giambi making his 3rd start of the year, playing at first base today. The Mets move into the shift, and they were doing it as the pitch was thrown. Well, there's Tulowitzki's numbers. Not only won the Silver Slugger last year, but also his first Gold Glove. Should be the first of many.
You know, you made a good point there, Gary. The Mets were very confused on where they were supposed to go. In fact, most of the infielders were signaling to the bench, where do you want me to play? That's something that you would think you'd have going into the game.
Well, especially with a guy like Giambi, who's been around for so long. I mean, even before we saw shifts played so routinely against left-hand pull hitters as we have the last decade, Giambi was a guy who always had that shift played against him. And came up in 95.
95 was my last year in the big leagues. When he came up, I remember saying to myself, this is going to be a future batting champion, and he never pulled the ball. Always hit the ball to left field.
Well, then he got a lot bigger.
Yes.
Giambi with 415 lifetime home runs, an on-base percentage of .405, and that's always been a big part of his game. Great pitch recognition, and he takes that one high 3-2.
And he's had that from day one. Just the great concept of the strike zone, and he can almost pinpoint the one pitch that he will let it fly on. Bond's probably the best of all time at that.
Tulowitzki takes his lead, and Dickey pays him some attention with 3-2 on the hitter. Dickey got the side in order in the first inning today. He's done that in all 3 of his starts this year. Just gives up nothing in the first. And that knuckleball in for a called 3rd strike. Giambi down looking and turns to talk to Darryl Cousins about it. First strikeout for R.A. Dickey.
Well, Giambi thought this pitch was high. When you watch here, the grip of the knuckleball by R.A. Dickey on the 3-2 count. This pitch starts up in the strike zone and doesn't really come down that much, but it was good enough for Darryl Cousins. Watch this pitch. Giambi recognizes that it's a knuckleball up in the strike zone, lets it go, but it really curves into the strike zone late, despite totally not being able to make the play.
Jose Lopez takes a fastball for a strike. Lopez 0 for 5 last night. Played third base in last night's game. He's at second base today. He has more at bats against Dickey than anybody else in the Rockies lineup. Of course, Lopez played in Seattle when Dickey was pitching in the American League, and in fact Lopez 3 for 5 in his career against Dickey. Lopez spent 7 years playing in Seattle, and that just misses. 2-1.
Well, home plate umpire Cousins giveth, and now he taketh away. That was a pretty good pitch there.
Now, Cousins has generally had a fairly tight strike zone over the course of his career. And now Dickey misses inside, and it's 3-1. There is the umpiring team for today. Cousins, the crew chief. That is not Jim Joyce at first. That's Corey Blazer at first base. Kolpa and Wolf the other two. Popped up into shallow center field. Coming on is Pagan. Long way to get there, and puts it away for the second out. The reason why you've got an umpiring change is when there's a double header, the umpires who work the plate in the 2 games do not work the other games. They bring in a 5th umpire. Corey Blazer will be on the bases in both games of the doubleheader, and Joyce will have the plate in the second game. So Cousins gets the early flight.
There you go. Or at least make his flight.
2 out, Ian Stewart the batter. Stewart has really struggled in the early season. Battled through knee and hamstring issues in spring training this year, then had the flu. So it's been a difficult beginning for him. And it's taken high, ball 1. In fact, Stewart picked up his first hit of the season in the opening game of the series here on Monday night. That was an infield hit. And Dickey behind him, 2-0. way Dickey has struggled to throw strikes with his knuckleball early in this game, it makes you wonder whether that fingernail is still an issue.
Well, also with the filing of it, it certainly isn't as natural as it has been in the past. So trying to get that feel.
And a 3-0 fastball misses high, and he walks Stewart on 4 pitches. So Dickey, who had walked 8 in 11 innings in his first 2 starts, issues his first walk of this game. And the Rockies have 2 out and 2 on for the catcher Jose Morales. Morales making his second start of the year behind Chris Iannetta. He spent 10 years in the Twins organization. Made their big league roster last year as the backup to Joe Mauer. Traded for a minor league pitcher in the offseason. So this is his first year anywhere other than Minnesota. And he takes a strike.
That is the definition of a word, backup, when you're backing up Joe Mauer. I mean, you are going to see no playing time.
Well, they're dealing away all his potential backups, right? They've traded Wilson Ramos to Washington. And that one gets away from Tulo, and the runners advance to second and third. It was a strike to Morales, but Tulo boxed it, and the pass ball moves the runners up.
Well, this is one of the best ones he's thrown all day. Watch it take a left turn late. Look at that. I mean,
never even hit the glove.
Got him right in the right shoulder. That'll be one, if RA and the Mets win this first game, that they will have fun with Josh.
Wins Josh the Gino Petralli Award for his second inning. Petralli once had 4 pass balls in an inning, catching Charlie Huff. Here's the 0-2. Stroked on the ground to third, and David Wright's got it. Makes the long toss and gets Morales to end the inning. So now they can smile about that pass ball. We go to the bottom of the second. Mets and Rockies, no score. Town as the Mets and Rockies play 2. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. You ever go to Bob's with your kids? They got like candy and popcorn.
Really?
Oh, it's awesome. Kids can play and stuff themselves full of sweets while you go shop for furniture.
Jumping up and down on the beds.
Sure. A little sugar shot.
That's right.
Angel Pagan leads off in the home second. Angel had maybe his best offensive night of the season last night. Really swung the bat well. Went 2 for 2. Had a sacrifice fly and a walk along the way. Picked up his first triple of the season. So perhaps a step in the right direction for Angel, who struggled for the first couple of weeks. Corners in against Angel's speed. And Reynolds throws a strike, 1-1. It'll be Pagan, then Willie Harris and Scott Hairston here in the second.
I want to see the defense pinched in there at the corners. Stewart and Giambi. If you're going to bunt, Giambi's the one to bunt to.
Well, all through this series, the Rockies' third basemen have been playing very close, closer than usual against Reyes and Pagan. And anybody they think might lay down a bunt. We've seen it with Stewart and with Lopez playing third. We'll tapper back to Reynolds, and Pagan retired for the first out. So one away, and Willie Harris will come to the plate. Harris 1 for 6 in this series, continuing to play virtually every day in left field. With Jason Bay still at least 12 days away from returning.
April 26th is the date now.
It's the hope anyway.
Well, you know, it's 30 to 40 days for those obliques, whether you like it or not. That's just how it goes. And hurt himself at the end of spring training. It would make sense that he'd be ready at the end of April.
Well, it really hurts the lineup construction for Terry Collins because he's got so many lefty bats in there now, and he doesn't have Bay to provide that right-handed transition. To the right side, and Lopez handles it. And not to mention the power that you miss without Bay in the lineup. Obviously, he didn't have a good power year last year, but you assume that he's going to have more than 6 home runs this year.
And I like Bay's defense, and I like Bay's base running ability. Might not be a flat-out burner, but he gets the job done. When you have to play your bench players, it just takes away all your depth. You want your bench players to be on the bench. You want your everyday players like a Bay to be out there.
Here's Scott Hairston, whose season has gotten off to a miserable start. Scott making his 3rd start of the season. His first in right field. Just 1 for 16 to begin the year. And takes a slider for a strike. Just seems as though Scott is trying to yank the ball out of the ballpark with every swing. Bounces one slowly to Tulowitzki, who throws it on the move. Side retired. 3 ground ball outs for Greg Reynolds in that second inning. 8-pitch inning. On to the third we go with no score. Lunchtime, folks.
Very nice.
Very nice. Oh, this is. Oh, I thought it was center field at Citi Field. It's actually the original Shake Shack.
That's right. In Madison Park.
3rd inning. Mets and Rockies no score. The pitcher Greg Reynolds leads off against R.A. Dickey. Reynolds 0 for 1 so far this year. And Dickey starts him off with a fastball. Ball 1. We referenced Gino Petralli in the last inning. And Dave Freed, our statistician, did a little research. Petralli had 4 passed balls in 1 inning on August the 22nd, 1987, catching Charlie Huff. 8 days later, he had 6 passed balls in 1 game.
Huff again?
I would presume.
Okay.
In fact, Petralli had 35 passed balls in 1987, the most ever.
Wow.
And he was a part-time player.
You know, I played against Gino when he was, I think he was with the Toronto Blue Jays early in his career. He played for the Syracuse Chiefs, and I could not get him out.
Line center field, and the pitcher Reynolds has a base hit. Well, it's like Ralph Kiner always said, you want to hit a knuckleball or put 9 pitchers in the lineup.
Right.
Second hit off Dickey. Here's your AT&T trivia question. Carlos Gonzalez, 5th Rocky to win the batting title. Who were the other 4? And actually, there are 7 batting titles for Rockies by 5 different players. So who were the other 4 who won batting titles? And of course, the parenthetical is that in 49 seasons before this one, no Met has ever won a batting title.
Well, think of it this way. Last year he won the batting title with a .336 average. How many hitters in baseball, their batting instructor, Carney Lansford, twice hit .336 as a player? That doesn't happen very often.
Dexter Fowler flying to center his first time and takes a knuckleball for a strike. The best Met average for a single season was John Olerud in 1998. He had .354.
You can't win it with .354.
But he lost out to a Rocky.
Of course.
Punch to the left side, and that's going to go into left field for a hit for Fowler. Well, with Wright playing in, Fowler just punched it over his head, and so the Rockies with back-to-back hits to start the 3rd.
Well, a little unlucky here for R.A. Dickey and the Mets. A nice pitch, jams Fowler inside, and kind of just fought this pitch off. The inside part of the bat, and again, you couldn't have thrown it out there better than Fowler hit it.
So the first 2 aboard for Colorado, and the number 2 hitter Seth Smith, who grounded out his first time up. And you don't think about a bunt from Smith in this spot. Guy with a lot of extra base power. And the knuckleball away for ball 1.
You see the defense. Reyes shaded up the middle. Double play depth.
You got the pitcher Reynolds running at second. And it's popped up. Infield fly rule should be invoked. The batter's out. And Reyes puts it away. 1 away. So 2 on and 1 out. Now Carlos Gonzalez, whom the Mets have handled pretty nicely in this series so far.
I always thought, Gary, that this would be the one hitter would give R.A. Dickey trouble. Why? Because he has that long swing that tends to be in the strike zone for a long period of time.
Gonzalez flied to left his first time up. Just 1 for 11 in the 3 games. The Rockies won 7-6 on Monday night, 5-4 last night. Gonzalez takes it high.
Frustration on R.A. Dickey's part. He feels as though he's not getting a fair count from home plate umpire Darrell Cousins.
Well, that last high knuckleball similar to the one he got the strike 3 call on Giambi. Pounded into the ground, and it came up and hit Gonzalez. A foul ball, 1-1. Rockies out to an 8-2 start, the best 10-game start in their history, and the best record in the major leagues right now. This is a franchise that in 19 seasons, this is their 19th, so the previous 18 seasons they had 3 winning Aprils. 3 out of 18 winning Aprils. And here they are out to an 8-2 start. And you know, it was one of the focuses that Jim Tracy had for this team back in spring training, was winning on the road and finishing and starting quickly. Another dribbler, and this one will stay foul.
Do you think historically, though, if you look at the Rockies franchise, they have to have the weather that's probably the coldest, or at least fluctuating the most in April of any team in the big leagues. I know the Northeast takes a pounding too, but many times they start with snow, at least if not on their field, in Denver.
Of course, the opposition has to play in that too.
That's right.
They've already been snowed out of one game this year. Gonzalez watches live 3-2. I remember the first game ever at Coors Field, which the Mets played in '95, which was actually in late April because the season started late that year as they settled the strike and had extended spring training. Anyway, it snowed 6 inches the night before the game. It was 35 degrees for a nice 14-inning affair. Gonzalez fouls it off. It's the one that Dante Bichette won with the walk-off home run. Well, it's the largest disparity of any franchise since the Rockies have been in existence between their home winning percentage and their road winning percentage. In fact, the only other team that's even close is Texas. Here's the 3-2, and it's off the glove of Tulo. It's ball 4 anyway, and the bases are loaded. So Dickey continues to struggle with placement of his knuckleball. He issues his second walk, and the bases are loaded for Tulowitzki.
Well, again, the 3-2 knuckler taking a chance that he's going to be able to throw it for a strike. Takes that left turn and off the glove of Tulo. As Dickey again frustrated and having a hard time throwing that ball over the strike zone. It's interesting with Dickey is that almost any pitcher on the Mets staff, Dan Wortham would be out there. But what are you going to tell a knuckleball pitcher? He's got to really do a lot of this on his own.
So now Tulowitzki with a chance to give the Rockies the lead. Bases loaded, 1 out, and a fastball, and Dickey can't get a strike with that. "13 batters for Dickey so far, only 4 first pitch strikes. 1-0 to Tulowitzki, and another fastball, and that misses, and it's 2-0. Last year, Dickey averaged just 2.2 walks per 9 innings. One of the best marks in the league. It's gone a very different direction this season. 10 walks now in just 13 and a third innings. 3 fastballs in a row, and it's 2-1 to Tulowitzki. And you have to believe that there's something wrong with that nail, because otherwise it's inconceivable that Dickey would approach this at bat this way. Now on 2-1, 4 fastballs in a row, and he's falling behind Tulowitzki, 3-1. The only other time we saw him throw this volume of fastballs was at start in Milwaukee last year, where he didn't have his knuckleball working.
He didn't, and he also got a big lead also, so that Ricky Weeks got him for a couple of home runs, but able to go deep into that game.
Now it's 3-1, and the fastball grounded to short. Reyes will have to hurry. Gets to the bag, throws to first. Double play, side retired. What a play by Jose Reyes. He knew he had to rush. Didn't bother with the toss. Took it to the bag to get Gonzalez, and then doubles up Tulowitzki to get Dickey out of the inning. What a job. All fastballs to Tulowitzki, got the grounder, and Reyes did the rest.
You know what's interesting is that Reyes, because he has such an outstanding arm, he's able to make that play all by himself, get Tulowitzki by a step. You know, that's almost every shortstop in the league other than the two we have here today. Tulowitzki and Reyes probably make the exchange.
And the underrated part of that play was Daniel Murphy getting out of the way. Because he had gone to the bag expecting the toss from Reyes, and it could have gummed up the works, but he realized what was happening and vacated.
Well, see the takeout slide by Gonzalez. Fair, perfect, through the bag. That's big league baseball right there. Nice part in everybody, and look at that reaction. R.A. Dickey against one of the best hitters in April. I mean, this April. 5 fastballs and gets a double play.
Now, it certainly raises a question as we go forward in this game. If Dickey felt compelled to throw 5 fastballs in a row to Tulowitzki, what does that mean for his knuckleball from here?
Well, maybe it's going to give him some confidence to throw more fastballs as it goes along, but I think it tells us, Gary, that the finger is still a problem here in this third start.
Josh Toley struggling right now, just 1 for his last 14 as he takes ball 1 from Greg Reynolds. And the other side of that issue is, as Dickey comes out on deck, the Mets are playing a doubleheader today. They don't have a day off until Monday. They plan to start a relief pitcher tomorrow night in DJ Carrasco. So it would be difficult, even if things were to go wrong for Dickey, to pull him out of this game early.
No, I think when you start the first game of a doubleheader, your responsibility is to get 21 or more outs. You really have to be out there so you give your team a better chance to win the second game.
Reynolds handles the comebacker and throws out Toley 1 away.
I'm saying you win the first game also, but it gives your team a better chance in the second game if you're not restricted by who you can use.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch Dickey over the next inning or so to see whether he's able to resolve the issue with his knuckleball, or if he's going to have to stick to a different game plan. And very interesting, he went over and talked to the home plate umpire, Darrell Cousins, before settling in for his at-bat.
Well, what you do as a pitcher, because you don't want to anger the umpire, but when you do come to the plate to take your at-bat, you want to make sure you'll say something like, hey, Darrell, where are those pitches? They're close, right? And if you hear the umpire go, no, they're not even close, you know you're in for a long day. But if he says, yeah, you're just missing, just tighten it up a little bit, then you know you're on your way.
Dickey lifts one to shallow center. Fowler coming on with the sunglasses on. 2 out. Well, the Mets have only 1 hit in this game, and that shouldn't have been a hit. That was the pop fly that Daniel Murphy hit that Carlos Gonzalez, who didn't have the sunglasses at the time, lost in the sun for a double. Now Reyes bats with 2 out and nobody on. Dave Hudgens, the hitting coach, has seen the Mets swing the bats pretty well for the most part, but it's been those 2-out RBI situations that have troubled them the most. Reyes tried to bunt his way on and popped up to the catcher his first time up. And Reynolds throws a strike. Reyes pops one up. Late start for Seth Smith coming on, and the second baseman Lopez goes out. He can't make the play, neither can Smith, and Reyes winds up at second base with a pop fly double.
Well, how about the 2 hits the Mets have gotten today? Smith started back, doesn't have the speed really to make up that distance, and Lopez going back had no shot to catch it over the shoulder, so it drops in between both of them. See the swing by Jose a little out in front with that pop-up. See that front foot right on his heel as he spins on that swing on that heel.
So Reyes with the pop fly double now has an 11-game hitting streak. Mets have 2 hits in this game, and they've both been pop flies that have fallen in for one reason or another. Murphy has the other one. He's at the plate now, and he takes high for ball 1. Murphy, after getting the gift, gave it back by making a base running mistake and getting tagged out on a ground ball to the third baseman after his double in the first. while, Greg Reynolds has been impressive. I mean, here's a kid who 2 years ago missed the entire season with a shoulder impingement. And then as he tried to make his comeback last year, was hit in the elbow by a line drive that fractured a bone and cost him half the season. So he hasn't pitched in the big leagues, had not pitched in the big leagues from 08 until his last start on Saturday against the Pirates. But he was a #2 overall draft pick, so you know the kind of talent he has. And the curveball bounced foul.
Kevin mentioned in the opening that from Pacifica, California, same high school as Keith Hernandez, and he wears 37. I wonder if maybe he got that from Keith's number.
Because Keith was 37 as a Cardinal before he was 17 as a Met. Couldn't be 37 as a Met.
That's right.
Because it was retired for Casey Stengel. Keith said he didn't care as long as it had a 7 in it.
Well, Mickey Mantle was his idol, of course.
They share a birthday, you know.
They do, right? October, what, 20th?
20th, yeah. Murphy fouls one off. Reynolds was second in that 06 draft behind Luke Shaver. That's been a draft that has produced a lot of big-time big leaguers. Evan Longoria and Tim Lincecum, Clayton Kershaw. 10 of the top 12 in that draft have played in the major leagues, and there were even some guys later in that first round who have made an impact.
Well, you think about it with Reynolds, Pac-10, very represented in that draft. Lincecum, of course, University of Washington. Brandon Morrow was Cal.
Meanwhile, 13th round draft pick Daniel Murphy takes low and inside 2-2.
Wasn't that the great thing about baseball, is that there's been so many success stories of guys later in the draft, and that all comes from those bird dog scouts that are out there and watching guys play and say, hey, listen, take a chance on this young man. He can play big league baseball.
And sometimes it's just a favor to a friend. Mike Piazza, 62nd round. Good time at bat for Murphy here, 2-2. With Reyes at second and 2 out. And Murphy hits one back to Reynolds. Nice glove by the pitcher. That one was headed toward the middle. But Reynolds snags it, saves a run in the process, and the Mets leave Reyes. brought to you by the Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, we mentioned already the home plate umpire, Darryl Cousins, is very strict strike zone. It's worked against R.A. Dickey so far. That fingernail maintenance in between innings is going to be vital for Dickey to try to throw strikes. And 1, 2, 3 innings were so good to Dickey last year, have not been as good this year.
Jason Giambi leading off in the 4th inning. And Dickey missing badly with that first knuckleball. And now just off the plate, 2-0. And he's slowed it down a little bit, trying perhaps to get a little better feel for it, but still having trouble throwing that knuckleball for a strike. And really, when you think about his 2010 season, what characterized Dickey more than anything else was that here was a knuckleballer, and a rare one, we didn't have to worry about throwing strikes.
Well, to me, watching him now in the range of 67 to 72 or so, I think that nail has to be a problem. He's not able to throw that 78, 79 one over for strikes, and there might also be pain there. So he's come back. He's going to throw it a little slower, can have a little bigger break, and maybe, hopefully, more enticement to the hitters.
Ripped right to Ike Davis for the first down. Giambi got on top of that knuckleball, but Davis playing near the line in the shift. Grabs it one away.
Against that shift, Giambi has had to hit line drives at first base, and he must have what's your word? A passel of them in his career.
Passel of L3s. So one out here is Jose Lopez. Fly to center his first time up, and takes a knuckleball for a strike.
It's almost like he's got it slow enough now, as you see Ian Stewart on deck, where it's given Cousins a better chance to see the ball in the strike zone.
Another one eludes Tolle, and it's 1-1. Well, if Dickey wins this game, he will go back to that 3rd inning with the bases loaded and putting himself in a situation where he wasn't able to throw his knuckleball for strikes, and threw 5 straight fastballs to Troy Tulowitzki and got him to hit into a double play, engineered on a brilliant play by Reyes. And the very slow one just misses, down the back to 57 miles an hour. That's the slowest one we've seen him throw.
Well, this is a good one. It could have been called strike 3. Starts up high in the strike zone, ends up around waist high. See how he turned that over, that knuckleball, and that probably allows it to go a little slower than the other ones.
It's almost an ephus pitch.
Yeah.
Here's the 2-2 to Lopez. The knuckleball fouled back. I remember watching Steve Hamilton.
That's right.
Him with the folly floater.
La Roche.
La Lob.
La Lob.
Here's the 2-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. So Dickey has his 2nd strikeout as he gets Lopez 2 away.
Well, I'm more impressed, as you can see the grip on this knuckleball. Just a little bit of rotation, the ball down in the strike zone. But what I'm more impressed at is Dickey has made an adjustment in his own game. He's deciding he's going to change speeds with this knuckleball instead of throwing that real hard one. That one has not been working so far.
Ian Stewart up with 2 out. Well, sometimes necessity is the mother of reinvention.
How many times can he reinvent himself?
In R.A.'s case, I think he'll be doing it the rest of his life.
I agree.
This is the man who's going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in January, remember?
Yep.
He's got a lot of aspects to his life well beyond his pitching. And he is a man of great and deep thought. So if anybody's capable of handling the residue of a snagged fingernail, I would say it's Robert Allen Dickey.
I'd like to go to dinner with Chris Young, Capuano, and R.A. Dickey. That'd be a
We'll have to work on that.
table of scholars.
On the outside corner, strike 3 call. Stewart down looking as he got that hard knuckleball to go where he wanted it. Back-to-back strikeouts for Dickey, and a 1-2-3 inning in the 4th. scoreless game. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt, who's live from the Acela Club. Kevin?
Well, guys, imagine doing anything well for 50 straight years. Of course, we know our Ralph Kiner, the great Ralph, in his 50th year broadcasting with the team. Well, Pete Flynn on the groundskeeping staff is in his 50th year with the Mets. Now, he was a head groundskeeper here for a long time, now still on the staff under Bill Deacon. And, you know, what an interesting story for Pete, who came over from Ireland, initially came over to Canada to work in, you ready for this, a uranium mine. He did that in Canada for a while, and then he kind of got into landscaping in Canada before he came to New York City. And when he was in New York, he was looking for work and got hired by the Mets as a handyman. You know, basically a guy to go around, fix seats at the Polo Grounds, whatever they needed. If the door came off the hinges, Pete was there to fix it. And at some point, you know, they said, hey, you know anything about grading? And Pete said, well, I did some landscaping. Okay, you're hired. And he became, you know, part of the groundskeeping staff / handyman. He did it all. I asked him what he remembers about 62 in that first season as David Wright punches 1-2 right, and that is a fair ball. David Wright's going to head to second base. He's got himself a leadoff double here in the frame. But I asked Pete, guys, about that opening day in 62 at the Polo Grounds, and he said, I remember this. It was freezing, it was raining, and we had short-sleeve shirts. Our jackets didn't come in yet. And he said, you know, when I got here, I didn't know anything about baseball, but I sat in the dugout with Casey Stengel on multiple days, and I would just listen to him go and go and go. And here he is 50 years later. Guys?
And of course, the other big part of Pete's legacy would be as driver for the Beatles.
That's right. Well, great hitting by Wright. That's his 8th hit now to right field. Just a great job of staying inside the baseball and taking what the pitchers are giving him.
4th double of the year for Wright, so the Mets have their 3rd hit, all doubles, but the first one well struck. And in a scoreless game, a runner at second and nobody out. And Ike Davis lays off. It pops away from Morales, but Wright stays at second. Here's TV pitch differential.
Well, trying to come inside, and the ball just leaks a little bit over the middle of the plate. Still could pitch down. But David's eyes all over that baseball. You know, that was a great piece about Pete Flynn, and I know for you and I, Gary, we're here every day, and some of the people that from the security guards, the grounds crew, honestly become some of our deepest friends and people that we love to see every day. And Pete's one of those.
Another one gets away, and this one to the backstop, and Wright goes over to third. So Morales saved a wild pitch, but not this one. And now the Mets have a runner at third and nobody out.
Well, he kind of holds on to that cutter breaking ball too long, and Morales couldn't get his body in front of that baseball. Nice try by Jose. Just gets off his right hip. And Trace looks like he has a nail problem also.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to hold the knuckleball. The infield stays back. Scoreless game, bottom of the 4th. Conceding a run on a ground ball. 2-0 the count to Ike Davis. And he takes the pitch high, and 3-0. This is interesting only in contrast to the fact that Terry Collins played the infield into the 2nd inning the other day. Jim Tracy figuring that his offense will get him enough. Doesn't want to worry about one run. Wants to short circuit a big inning. Wants
the out, but with a 3-0 count, it'd be interesting if the manager who has really taken the reins off the Mets hitters and has allowed a lot of them to swing the bat on a 3-0 count.
Davis has been the Mets' #1 RBI threat. He's got 11 RBIs in the first 11 games. But has no chance to swing at that, and now he's aboard. So the first walk given up by Reynolds. Runners at the corners with nobody out, and Angel Pagan coming up. Remember that for Greg Reynolds, this is only his 15th major league start, and only his 2nd since 2008. So he's a very inexperienced major league pitcher. Now he's faced with his first real crisis in the game.
And 3rd start against the Mets, which is very strange for someone out of the division to have that little of starts, and 5th of them against the Mets.
Prior starts back in 08. 25-year-old right-hander from Stanford now faces Pagan with 1st and 3rd and nobody out. Angel hit a comebacker his first time up, one of 3 comebackers that Reynolds has generated already. And that misses inside, 1-0. Willie Harris waiting on deck. And Pagan lifts one to center field. That should get the run home. Fowler circles under it. Wright tags at third. He comes on down. The throw goes to second. And the Mets take the lead 1-0. Sacrifice fly for Angel Pagan, his 6th run batted into the year.
Isn't this one of the keys to having a good year? Is that Angel right now swung the bat better yesterday, but not swinging the bat at the top of his game, but put in a situation, not trying to do too much, got out in front of this baseball a little bit, but rewarded on this fly ball to center field.
Well, getting runners in from third with less than 2 out has been a troubling statistic for the Mets early in the year, other than Ike Davis. But Pagan 2 days in a row now has gotten it done. Sacrifice fly both last night and today. Davis at first with 1 out. Now Willie Harris, who grounded out to second his first trip. And Willie takes a sinker low and away, 1-0. The strangest thing about Willie so far this year has been the fact that his defense has not been as airtight as we recall from his days playing against the Mets. Had trouble with the lights the other night, had some trouble with the fog last night.
He's also developed a peculiar habit in left field that I haven't seen him do in the past, and that is reaching for the wall when he's 20 to 25 feet away from it, which you say to yourself, what's the big deal about that? Well, it stops you from going back on a ball because you can't move as quickly when you're putting your hand out the field for the wall.
You have to chalk some of that up, I guess, to the unfamiliarity with the ballpark, although he certainly has played games here before. And strike zone shrinking again. 2-1 to Harris. As a pitcher, how much do you worry or think about who the home plate umpire is on a given day? Well,
you definitely do. I'd love to say that you're able to overlook it and you're just going to execute your pitches, but you know, when an umpire, you feel, you might be wrong, but you feel as though it's putting you behind in the count every at bat, it gets very frustrating.
Pulled toward first, off the glove of Giambi, scrambles after it and flips to Reynolds for the out. Nice recovery by Jason Giambi, sprawled in the dirt. And they get Harris for the second out as Davis goes to second.
What a play by Jason. Full out, gets that ball off the end of the glove. Luckily Reynolds was moving that way, and the perfect toss. Big man showing good touch right here by Jason Giambi. Scrambling to the baseball. Started out as a third baseman when he first came up to the big leagues, and was a fine defensive player.
So 2 out. Davis now in scoring position, and Scott Hairston will come up for the second time. Scott grounded to short his first time up. But when you're a veteran pitcher and you know the home plate umpires, do you go into a game with a little different mindset if you know it's a guy who has more of a narrow strike zone?
It doesn't even have to be the narrow strike zone. If you know an umpire very well and you know what he's going to give you. Joe Brinkman, umpire in the American League, used to always call that pitch inside to right-handed hitters. So yes, you come into the game plan knowing, you know what, if I ever need a strike, I can go inside. Now Darryl Cousins, to be fair, you know, I think, you know, you might think that he's putting you behind the count, but he's saying to you, you know, those pitches are down. Those pitches are close, but they're not strikes.
With a looper, shallow right field, and for Hairston, it falls for a hit. Davis comes in to score. Scott Hairston drives in a run with a bloop single, and it's 2-0 New York. Well, Scott Hairston needed a little good fortune, and he found it in the right field grass.
Well, nice break here for the Mets. Pretty good pitch by Reynolds coming in the strike zone, trying to inside out that ball. That's a good sign as opposed to trying to wallop and have a big swing. Dumps that into right field for the Mets' second run.
So the Mets have cashed a pair here in the fourth to take a 2-0 lead. Now Josh Thole, who had a comebacker his first time up. Josh just 1 for 9 in this series. And takes it at the knees for a strike.
Well, Morales' call was a fastball away, and that ball just came right back over in the inside corner. Missed by a good foot.
Your IOTV pitch differential. So Hairston at first with 2 down. That's now with 4 hits off Reynolds, and 3 of them have been pop flies or bloops. The only hard hit ball against him was David Wright's. Tolle yanks one foul.
Well, that's what Josh was doing in spring training. That ball inside, he was hitting and pulling with authority. And that's a good thing for him. You say, why is that a good thing? He just got a strike and it's only a ball foul. What it does to the pitcher says, boy, maybe I can't go inside to Josh Tolle. I have to go back outside, and that's his strength.
Now Reynolds ahead 0-2. Morales knocks down that one. 1 and 2 strikes. R.A. Dickey now staying to a 2-0 lead. Waits on deck. Seemed to find himself in that last inning. Slowing down the knuckleball. Able to throw it more for strikes.
Two strikes. The familiar Tolle kind of squat in the batter's box. It's as low as he can.
There goes Hairston. It's slapped toward the vacated hole. A base hit for Tolle. Hairston goes first to third. And the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 down. Tulowitzki went to cover. I don't know why you do that with Tolle, who hits the ball that way. But it works out for the Mets.
Again, you're right, Gary. The standard is that you would think you'd cover maybe with a second baseman Tolle, especially if the pitch is going to be away. But Tulowitzki covering on that baseball, opening up that hole, and a good thing for Josh.
So a chance for R.A. Dickey, who flied to center his first time up. Came into the day a lifetime 271 hitter. That's what I was just thinking, watching Tolle with that squatty stance and choking up on the bat. Felix Millan was here last night. And he almost looks like a left-handed Felix Millan. Doesn't go quite as far up on the bat as Felix did.
Felix Millan, what a player he was. Great second baseman. One of the star players for some of those teams.
So now Dickey bats with runners at the corners and takes high from Reynolds. 1-0. That's 3 hits in the inning. Pagan and Hairston with the RBIs. Hairston now at third. Tolle at first with 2 down. Dickey with 5 career runs batted in. Looking to pick up Hairston from third. And he lines one right to Giambi to end the inning. But the Mets cash a pair. David Wright got it all started, driving one into the right field corner for a 2-base hit. Angel Pagan drove him home. Hairston with an RBI as well. Mets lead 2-0 after 4. with a 2-0 lead. Putting a couple of runs across in the bottom of the fourth in support of R.A. Dickey, who has struggled with command of his knuckleball today. Seemed to find it in the last inning with back-to-back strikeouts. And now he'll face 8, 9, and 1 in the order in the fifth. Jose Morales, the switch hitting catcher, grounded out to third base to strand 2 in scoring position in the second. And the first pitch knuckleball is down for ball 1. It'll be Morales, then the pitcher Reynolds, and Dexter Fowler for the Rockies in the fifth. Taking all the way, and it's 2-0. And now Dickey's behind 3-0. There's a strike. 3-1. And he walked him. So the third walk issued by Dickey. Dickey getting the start in game 1 today. Chris Capuano goes in game 2. Chris Young was to have pitched tomorrow, but he's not. Let's check in with an update with Kevin.
Yesterday, Gary, the news came out about biceps tendonitis that he pitched through his last start, and obviously was brilliant in that start, but just decided early the season try to get it done, get it taken care of, and get healthy so he doesn't have to pitch with it. So push back to Sunday. Today, though, a big day. Threw a bullpen, 35 pitches, said it was totally normal and felt very, very good. As the bunt attempt here, and Davis will go to first base, sacrifice bunt by Reynolds. And the thing is with the issue with the bicep tendonitis, he said it's something that he hasn't experienced before, and he said that when he's hot during the game, it's not an issue. When it really bothered him was that first game of the year in Philly, because he was on the bases and he got cold, and he never got a chance to really change his shirt, so he was sweaty and cold kind of the whole game. That's how he thinks it developed. Guys?
Well, it doesn't appear as though it's something that concerns Chris a lot. However, when you have a pitcher with the injury history that Chris Young has, I think anything that goes the slightest bit awry certainly raises a red flag.
Well, I think for Chris, who's a brilliant guy, he's probably learned more about the shoulder than he ever wanted to know in his career. But when you have injuries, you get to know about that kind of stuff. And I also think that, he's intelligent enough to be prudent and smart. It's just early in the season. Key for him is to be healthy for 30+ starts. And if that means missing a day or two here, although it puts the Mets under a little bit of pressure for DJ Carrasco having to start.
Fastball hits a deep left center. Pagan back near the wall, and he can't get to it. Racing for third is Morales. He'll be held up there. It's a double for Dexter Fowler, a ball that it appeared Angel Pagan had a beat on, and then he pulled up at the last moment and couldn't make the play. I don't know if the sun was a factor.
Well, I think it definitely was a factor. You can see he lost the play when he looked there. He didn't know where he was in relationship to the field and the wall. And you see in this Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mo. But I think the thing that's important there is that I think Angel lost his place of where he was, and by the time he picked up the ball again, he had lost where it was going to be.
Morales properly was tagging up at second base and has to stop at third on the double. So now second and third with one out, and Seth Smith the batter. Smith is grounded to first and popped to short, 0 for 2. The infield back, and the knuckleball in for a strike.
Well, Morales knows how good an outfielder Pagan can be, but he doesn't make this play, and he's trying to tag up to advance to third to try to get a run, and it cost him scoring there, but I think that's a good baseball play.
Normally with one out, you want to go halfway, but in a situation like that, you figure it's deep enough, you can easily walk over to third after the catch. Oh, and 2 now to Seth Smith, and he punches one foul. Well, Fowler hitting that fastball a good 400 feet. It's really the first time that Dickey has given up any kind of a hard hit ball to the fastball. The fastball he's throwing in much greater number today than in most of his starts. slowly hit. A run will score. Murphy comes in and makes the play on Smith. That's the second out, but Morales comes in and cuts the Met lead to 2-1. So Smith picks up his 5th run batted in of the year. Fowler moves to 3rd on the play, and now there are 2 out. And Carlos Gonzalez comes to the plate. Gonzalez has flied to left and walked 0 for 1. Just 1 for 11 in this series. Tying run, Fowler standing at 3rd with 2 out, and that makes Tolley's job a little more dangerous. He's already boxed 3 or 4 in this game, including 1 pass ball. There's the strike.
Think about Gonzalez. The Mets handled him last season when he came to Citi Field also, and he was as hot as you could be. But every time you watch this kid in the batter's box, you just feel at some point he's going to break out. That's how talented he is.
And Dickey gets ahead of him with a couple of knuckleballs, 0-2. Dickey's now thrown 7 straight strikes. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Dickey fans Gonzalez to strand the tying run at 3rd. 4th strikeout for RA. We're halfway through. Chinatown on a beautiful day. SNY, get on the New York Sports Local and stay on top of all the latest happenings in New York sports with insider info, exclusive interviews, special guests, and heated debate on Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouths, all part of the New York Sports Local, weekdays starting at 5 on SNY. 3rd time around the batting order for New York as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Mets with a 2-1 lead. Jose Reyes had a pop fly double his last time up to extend his hitting streak to 11 games. And Greg Reynolds with the curve, and Reyes pulls it foul. 0-1. Well, there's been so much talk going into this season about Reyes and whether the Mets will sign him to a long-term deal at the end of the year, whether they'll seek to trade him in the middle of the year. And a lot of that discussion has centered around his on-base percentage, which you just saw a progression of there. Last year, a low on-base percentage of .321. In his halcyon days, he was in that .350 range. And, you know, with a new regime that greatly values on-base percentage, it raises the question of whether a player like Reyes, who has other things that he brings to the table, transcends the notion of on-base percentage being the be-all, end-all.
Well, 33% of the time over his career he gets on base. I mean, that's, you know, I don't think you can teach a veteran player like Reyes, who's been here a long time, anything new. He's not going to walk 100 times this season or next season or any season. So those things are out of the window. Not going to have that. And I know it's very important to almost most organizations in baseball that their leadoff hitter or all their hitters are people that get on base, giving you more opportunities to score. But, you know, Reyes brings, you know, a glove, I think, which is always underrated when you talk about his game. It's really the glue to this defense and the best defensive player the Mets have.
And now, of course, as we're talking about Reyes not drawing walks, he draws a walk. So
99 to go or whatever.
Well, I think that you're right. I think that it's hard to say that you're going to take Reyes and make him a guy who's going to walk more, although Reyes is conscious of the fact that last year his walks were way down, and it's something that he needs to at least be conscious of, if not obsessed with. I mean, last year he walked only 31 times. He walked as many as 77 times in 2007. Here's Murphy with Reyes aboard and nobody out. But valuations of players are tricky things. I mean, there are so many more metrics than there used to be. You've got the all-encompassing wins above replacement, which, you know, tends to give a large snapshot of a player and what he brings to the table. I guess the question is, when you've got a guy like Reyes who steals bases, hits triples, has the great arm in the field, covers a lot of ground, and gives you the effervescence that he brings when he's healthy, do those things make up a little bit for the lack of walks? Well,
I mentioned that over the course of his career he gets on base 33% of the time, but the one that really works in his favor is that when he does score a run, the Mets win. I mean, he's that important to this lineup. Like, I always think that David Wright is a game changer for the Mets. Reyes, sometimes when he plays the way he can play, can be a team changer, can elevate your team into a different stratosphere.
Well, he has that ability. As Murphy rolls one to second base, Lopez gets the force. Tulowitzki turns the double play. 4-6-3, 2 out and nobody on. He has that ability that so few players have. Ricky Henderson obviously was the best ever at it, of creating a run by himself. You know, getting on, stealing second. You move him over with a sack where he steals third, and you get him home with a fly ball, and you don't even need you know, anybody to do much else to drive him in once he gets on base.
Well, the other take on Reyes also is in that Moneyball type of play. The stolen base is something that is not considered a great thing. And Reyes' whole game is, to me, revolves around when he's healthy and stealing bases and really creating big problems for pitchers.
Here's David Wright with 2 out and nobody on, and David fouls it off. Well, here's the other question, and you said something very interesting during this conversation. You said it's not just the Mets. Every organization is moving toward the notion that on-base percentage is the be-all, end-all. So if you take that as a given, if Reyes does become a free agent, does that mean that he will have less value than we're generally perceiving that he might?
Well, I think that he is such a unique player. I mean, I always ask this question: if you decide not to sign Reyes, who are you going to replace him with? He's such a unique player that there's some organizations out there, San Francisco Giants would be one, that look at a player like Reyes in their ballpark and say, boy, he would be a perfect fit. They haven't had a shortstop who's been young for a number of years. Renteria, of course, played a lot of that position last year and moved on to the Reds this year.
Now they have Miguel Tejada playing most of the shortstop, a player near the end of his career. I think it's an interesting question, though, because, you know, the standard that a lot of people refer to is Carl Crawford. And, you know, Crawford got an enormous amount of money, and he's a similar type of player, although doesn't play as premium a position as Reyes does.
I think that the problem you run into if you're Jose and people that represent him is that there's only a few teams that can maybe afford that kind of player, and that's where you run into some problems. You know, if you're talking about $100+ million contract, but some impressive numbers there, right?
And the longest tenured player on the team, which I think counts for something too. I mean, there's been a perception since Reyes and Wright came up in 03 and 04 that these were guys who potentially could be career Mets. And I think, both of them in a perfect world would like to have it be that way. And I think, a big portion of the fan base feels the same. These are their guys.
Well, I totally agree. And there's I don't know, it's not unique to the Mets, but I would say that there is such an affiliation for their homegrown players who come up through the farm system. And I think that, there's a large group of people that I meet that just Reyes is by far their favorite player to watch. They come to the games to watch him play and run out the triple and make those sparkling plays on defense.
And yet, to take the opposite view, one of the things that has characterized, for instance, Theo Epstein in Boston has been a complete lack of sentimentality.
Yes.
That you can't fall in love with your players just because they're your players. You have to decide ultimately what's best for the franchise.
Although occasionally, like a guy like Varitek, they've kept probably past the years because of his responsibility in the team, the clubhouse, and his captainship. But I think you're right.
But he wasn't the big money guy.
No. Yeah, it's always important that that guys are moved before they start to lose their effectiveness, as Morales is getting up in the bullpen.
Ninth pitch of the at bat coming to David Wright, who drove a double into the right field corner his first time up. And he grounds one to Tulowitzki. And so Reynolds gets through the bottom of the fifth after a leadoff walk. 5 in the books in game 1 of our doubleheader, 2-1 New York. Leagues with the SNY Play Ball Award presented by Sports Authority, offering $5,000 grants to in-need organizations to be used for new equipment, uniforms, or field improvements. The deadline to apply is June 15th. For details, visit SNY.TV or any local Sports Authority location. 6th inning, R.A. Dickey still out there. 81 pitches under his belt. Troy Tulowitzki leads off in the 6th. And he swings and misses at a knuckleball that he never saw in his last at bat. 0-1. Biggest at bat of the game for Dickey so far. After the Rockies loaded the bases on 2 hits and a walk in the 3rd, he was unable to command the knuckleball. Threw 5 straight fastballs to Tulowitzki and got him to ground into a double play. And now Tulowitzki with Wright playing back, trying to lay down a bunt. How about that?
Well, you talked about, Gary, those 5 fastballs. This last one inside broke his bat. And a wonderful play by Jose Reyes to turn to double play and inspire Dickey to move on here to the 6th.
And Tulowitzki punches one into right field for a base hit. So Tulowitzki has his 2nd hit in this game and his 7th in the series. Leadoff base runner for the Rockies. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Is there any other pitcher in baseball who would have been allowed to finish that game? 3-0 going to the 9th, gives up 4 hits and 2 runs in the 9th with 1 out, and he gets to get those final 2 outs.
And no, they did not have to cart him off the field in the ambulance. He was fine. Finished the game, but that was very, very impressive. Getting Stairs on the Stairs, Matt Stairs never swung the bat, and then Pudge Rodriguez on that big curveball, but very impressive. That game looked like a game from the 1950s.
123 pitches for Halladay in that game. Giambi takes a fastball off the plate, and it's 3-0. So Dickey's struggling again to throw strikes. Giambi's taken a call 3rd strike and lined out to 1st. Jose Lopez on deck. And there's a strike, 3-1. In there for a call strike. 3-2.
It's almost like Giambi can't pull the trigger on the fastball because he's kind of zoned into that 70-mile-an-hour speed for the knuckleball.
Runner goes, pitch outside, ball 4, and so the first 2 Rockies are aboard on the 6th. That's the 4th walk given up by Dickey. So the walk totals continue to be a concern for RA, as they are for the entire Mets team. The Mets came in today averaging 4.5 walks per 9 innings. That's the worst in the major leagues.
54 walks and not through 12 games.
Just, you know, as a point of comparison, the worst season the Mets ever had in walks per 9 innings was 3.9, and they're at 4.5 right now. Lopez slaps one down to 1st. Ike's going to go to 3rd base with it and gets the force. Now, Ike Davis has been very aggressive this year, and this time feeling he had no chance for a double play, went for the lead man.
Well, pinched in helped Ike Davis here. Lopez trying to go the other way. What an outstanding arm and nice play to get that ball to 1st base. Boy, the ball was up a little bit. I thought it was going to get right off the base there for a second, but he was able to keep that foot on. We've always talked about it. Ike Davis has just a superior throwing arm. See how that ball was up? It's almost like it took him off the base. Dickey has to bail. Get down, son.
He was on his way to 1st to cover, thinking there might be a 3-6-1 in the offing, but Davis electing to go to 3rd with it. Now Ian Stewart takes a strike, and that's a snap judgment on his part, right? Because if he thinks he can get a 3-6-1, that's the better play.
It is the better play to try to get 2 outs there, but coming in on that baseball, that angle's not right. Could just proceeded to throw the ball to 3rd base.
Sharply up the middle, Reyes with the snag, gets it to Murphy for the force, and the turn is high. Off the bag comes Davis. Nice effort by Murphy on a difficult turn, but Reyes with a terrific play again on that ball up the middle.
Well, the nice shovel to make sure you get the out. And Murph had to kind of bail behind that base and throw off his back foot, which produced that high throw. But just outstanding play by the shortstops in this series, and Reyes in particular there.
Well, we were talking about how Murphy has had very few opportunities to turn double plays, and that's about as difficult one as you can have with his back turned toward the pitching mound and having to turn all the way around to make the pivot.
The more experience, though, he would have used that base as a buffer, and he wouldn't have to throw off his back foot. Just stand tall and make the throw.
So now 1st and 3rd and 2 down with the number 8 hitter Jose Morales at the plate, and he takes the knuckleball outside. Morales walked and scored in the 5th after grounding out in the 2nd. Each team with 5 hits, tying run at 3rd with 2 out. And the knuckleball swung and missed, 1-1. Ty Wigginton has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter if Morales keeps the inning going.
Well, great break on this knuckleball, but I think you also have to have in the back of your mind, if you're Tolley, if this one breaks away from you and gets by, you have to hustle back there because Giambi on third base, you will definitely have a play at home.
Especially with such a short distance between home plate and the backstop here at Citi Field. There's Wigginton on deck to pinch hit. And Morales gets under one to right. Back goes Hairston. Looking up near the wall, and he lost track of it, and it bounces into the Mo zone. Giambi scores the tying run. Stewart scores as well, and the Rockies take the lead. A 2-run double for Jose Morales. Scott Hairston, his first time playing in right field here at Citi Field, and he did not know how much room he had.
Well, right field is the toughest field here, and I think what happens to outfielders, they run and figure out that they're running out of room, but they still have another 15, 20, 30 feet. Hairston gave up on that ball too early, and that double cost the Mets and R.A. Dickey.
Well, the Mets have had some poor outfield play on this homestand. We saw Pagan pull up on a ball earlier. We've seen Harris had all sorts of problems in the outfield. Now Wigginton pinch hitting, hits one wide of first to Davis. Dickey covers for the third out, but the Rockies take the lead. A 2-run double by Morales as Hairston gave up on it, and it's 3-2 Rockies. Lead, but now find themselves trailing 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the sixth. R.A. Dickey got a fine defensive play behind him from Jose Reyes, but then Scott Hairston's failure to go back on a fly ball cost him 2 runs, and now the Rockies have the lead and they go to the bullpen.
Well, Franklin Morales is their talented left-hander, throws extremely hard. Pitched in the first game of this series, got an out, but he has had a wildness in his career. Might be something that the Mets can take advantage of.
First came up to the Rockies as a starting pitcher back in 07 when they made their World Series run. It'll be Ike Davis, Angel Pagan, and Willie Harris as the Mets bound at the bottom of the sixth. And watching this first homestand, and the Mets are playing their final game on the homestand, final 2 games this doubleheader today. Their first games at Citi Field this season, and for some of these guys, their first time playing here regularly. How much of a concern is it watching them play the outfield right now?
Yeah, well, I think it's a concern. Absolutely. I mean, those are plays that, listen, are they difficult plays? Absolutely. But this is the highest level. Those plays have to be made. And for this team, we're talking about a lot of close games and an irritated manager. Those are the kind of plays that you have to make if you want to win ball games.
And you've got some fly ball pitchers on this staff. who are going to be generating, balls that are going to stay in this ballpark that might go out of other parks, and the object is to turn those into outs. Ike Davis has struck out and walked, and he takes ball one from Morales. So Greg Reynolds, who went 5 innings in his second start, has a chance for his first victory since 2008. Through just 79 pitches in 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, and a strikeout. And Reynolds, pitcher of record on the long side. 2-0 to Davis, who walked and scored in the 4th inning. Mets got both their runs in the 4th, driven in by Pagan and Hairston. The Rockies with a run in the 5th and 2 in the 6th to grab the lead. And a fastball knee high for a strike, 2-1. Pagan to follow, and then Harris here in the 6th. And it's low and away, 3-1. Morales pitched on Monday night, faced Josh Tolley, got him to ground out, the only batter he faced. Matt Belisle, next man up in the Rockies bullpen. And Davis takes ball 4. So as Ronnie opined, Morales struggling with his control, and Davis aboard to lead off.
And you can really take advantage, because Morales is one of those pitchers that, as he struggles with his control, he gets very frustrated out there. So it's a chance for the Mets to make sure they get a pitch to hit. And Bob Appodaca, the pitching coach, of course, with the hand on his chin, he's probably watched this before.
Well, if you'll remember, Morales began last year as the Rockies closer and lost that job because of control issues. Walked 24 batters in 29 innings last year. So here's Pagan with the tying run at first and nobody out. Angel drove in a run with a sacrifice fly in the 4th. He's also grounded out 0 for 1, and Morales takes a trip to the mound to talk to, well, Morales. A pair of Moraleses. Or Morali.
There you go.
By the way, they are not related. Franklin is from Venezuela. Jose is from Puerto Rico. And proud Puerto Rican Pagan stands in, and he takes a strike that Morales failed to catch. And it's 0-1. By the way, speaking of Puerto Ricans, we didn't talk about it last night, but it certainly bears noting the retirement of Carlos Delgado after 2 years of trying to come back from a hip injury. Carlos finally admitted that it's just not working for him, and at age 38 has stopped his comeback.
Well, part of one of the finest seasons here in 2006. Great watching that team. Came in within 1 game of going to the World Series.
27 home runs shy of 500, which I know was an important milestone for Delgado, but it's still a very impressive resume. Over 1,500 RBIs in his career. And in that one postseason with the Mets in 06, he shined.
He did.
Curveball hit past the mound, but right to the bag to Tulowitzki, and he doubles up Pagan, 2 out. Smart of Morales to let that ball go and let Tulowitzki do his magic. 6-6-3, 2 out and nobody on.
It's a little more difficult play than you thought, because it was hit off the kind of jammed. Pagan had a lot of spin on it, but Tulowitzki stayed with it.
So second straight inning, the Mets have drawn a leadoff walk, only to see it erased on a double play. And now Willie Harris, who twice has grounded out to the right side. Mets have been limited to 2 runs and 5 hits this afternoon. And several of those 5 hits have been of the soft variety. You had Murphy's double that was lost in the sun by Carlos Gonzalez in the first. Hit hard down to first. Giambi boxes it around, makes the recovery, and this time Morales covers, and he's off the bag, and Harris is safe. The first base umpire, Corey Glazer, who is a substitute minor league umpire, called in for the doubleheader, saying that Franklin Morales did not hit the bag. And Jim Tracy out to argue.
Well, nice job by Giambi blocking this baseball and then making a good toss hit of Morales, who makes the play at first base. And what he's saying is that he didn't touch the bag. He certainly did, because he almost had his ankle run over, or did have his ankle run over by the runner Harris.
He lost his shoe in the process. Willie Harris stepped on his foot and his shoe came right off. Look at that. He ended up in his socks, but without an out.
That's a bad call by the rookie umpire.
So Harris is aboard. Wait to see how they score that. I guess it's got to be a hit.
Now the trainer's going to have to come out because Morales is limping around.
Definitely feeling it after getting tangled up with Harris at first base. And so we'll see whether Franklin Morales is going to be able to continue. You got the right-hand hitter Hairston coming up, and they have the right-hander Belisle up in the bullpen anyway. The Rockies were all running off the field. They thought that was a routine 3-1 putout, but it goes as an infield hit for Willie Harris. So another soft hit for the Mets. And he is not right, and he's going to have to come out of the game. So Franklin Morales had his shoe waylaid by Willie Harris, and now he is coming off the field limping on that right ankle.
I mean, in some ways, Harris on that play, because he stepped on his foot, never really touched the base.
That's a good point. So Morales is out. Belisle will come in. Rockies go into the bullpen again, and this call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln. Mets down by a run as they bat in the 6th. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV, and you can also listen to all Mets games on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Of course, another game coming up later today with Chris Capuano pitching for the Mets against Jorge De La Rosa. Then the Mets are in Atlanta over the weekend with DJ Carrasco pitching tomorrow night. Scott Hairston bats with a runner at first and 2 down. Matt Belisle now pitching for the Rockies, and he goes low and away for ball 1.
Well, another one of those real good arms that comes out of that bullpen. Outstanding season last year, and got a couple outs in the first game of the series.
Hairston hit a bloop single to drive in a run in the 4th inning. But he would love to get some recompense here after letting that fly ball go over his head to cost the Mets the lead in the last inning. 1-1 to Scott. Josh Thole hoping for a turn on deck. And a fastball thrown by Hairston, 1-2. Let's go back to the play at first base. Did Willie Harris ever touch first base?
Watch how he rolls over the ankle.
Stepped on the shoe. I'm not sure if he stepped on the base. Let's look at it from this angle.
Look at his heel. Maybe his heel gets part of the base. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Cost Franklin Morales his spot in the game. There goes Harris. The pitch outside. The throw by Morales is in time for the out. Jose Morales guns down Willie Harris to end the inning. 2-4 on the caught stealing. And the Mets are done at the bottom of the 6th. 3-2 Rockies. Capuano coming off a win in his first Mets start, going up against Jorge De La Rosa, who's been battling blisters his first 2 starts of the year. That'll be a half an hour or so after the first game concludes today. Top of the batting order, 4th time around for the Rockies against R.A. Dickey as we go to the 7th inning. Dexter Fowler is 2 for 4 on the day. And Dickey starts him off with a knuckleball. Not much of a question there after Fowler hit a fastball 400 feet to left center for a double his last time up. This will be the 100th pitch of the game, and this one's hit out to left field. And Willie Harris eases over and puts it away, 1 out. Tim Burdack staying loose in the Mets bullpen. You got left-hand hitters coming up here with Smith and Gonzalez, and then after Tulowitzki you've got Giambi. But the Mets would love for Dickey to get through the 7th inning on his own. Got a doubleheader today. You've got a relief pitcher starting tomorrow night with DJ Carrasco scheduled now to go against the Braves in Atlanta. Seth Smith is 0 for 3, grounded out to drive in a run his last time up. Ball strike ratio has gotten a whole lot better the last 3 innings for RA. Smith hooks one down the right field line. Over goes Hairston for a look, but it's out of play.
Well, I think it's very interesting that R.A., for the first time we've seen him make an adjustment with his knuckleball within the game. Just decided, you know, enough's enough. I'm not going to continue to throw the pitch that, one, is not being called, two, is just missing, and getting behind the hitters. This is one, if he can have a quick inning, as soon as he gets to the bench, the key is to go to your pitching coach, say, hey, I can go another. Come on, leave me out there.
Got a couple of tough hitters to get out here first. Smith hits one out to left center, slicing away from Pagan. Angel won't get it, and it's up the gap. Now Pagan and Harris both box it around, and Smith heads for third. Reyes with a relay throw, not in time. And the Mets' bad outfield play just continues on. Not only was the ball not caught, but first Pagan got a glove on it, then Harris got a glove on it, pushed it away from both of them, and Smith took an extra base.
Well, right there, Angel did not look that ball into the glove. It banged off the outside of his glove, and by that time, Harris got to it, and this ball almost went. As David Wright made an outstanding play to get his glove on that, but Seth Smith has showed us that quite a hitter, and lots of hustle there gets him to third base.
He'll score that a double for Smith, an error on Pagan moving him to third, and that forces the Mets to bring the infield in, down by a run in the 7th inning as they face Carlos Gonzalez. Gonzalez 0 for 2 and a walk today, and he takes it wide for ball 1. Gonzalez just 1 for 12 in this series, but in a position to do some damage here, looking to tack on at least a run as the Rockies try and beat the Mets for a 3rd straight game. And now Dickey behind Gonzalez 2-0. Now Gonzalez last night looked very vulnerable against John Neese's curveball, and has not looked comfortable against the knuckleball today either.
Well, he looks like he's trying to pull the knuckleball, which is always a difficult thing to do anyway. But if you're Gonzalez, what you have to be thinking is just make some kind of contact.
Tries to poke one to left, but fouls it off, and it's 2-2. Dickey in a spot where he'd love to get a strikeout with Tulowitzki on deck.
Tulowitzki on deck. If you can retire Gonzalez, keep the run from scoring, Tulowitzki might not face Dickey.
They might walk him, bring him the lefty to face Giambi. Check swing foul. Again, the 2-2, and Gonzalez hooks one down the right field line, headed toward the stands, and it's out of here. Carlos Gonzalez with a line drive 2-run homer, his first home run of the year, and the Rockies extend their lead to 5-2. Well, he found a ball he could put in play, and he put it out of play.
Well, your big players have to come up with your biggest hits, and he's been stifled all series long, but gets a pitch out of the strike zone, down on his shoe tops, and picks it off his shoe tops and hits the line drive out of this ballpark. I don't know what it is. Nice play by the fan, but these Rockies have made this ballpark look very small this series.
Well, that corner is the best place to find home runs. Tulowitzki found it last night, Gonzalez today. R.A. Dickey done after 6 1/3, and the Mets will go to their bullpen. Mets were up 2-0 in this game, down 5-2 as Bobby Parnell comes out of the bullpen for New York. Bobby Parnell's first pitch fastball is outside to Troy Tulowitzki. Another rough day at the office for R.A. Dickey. 6 1/3, 5 runs, 8 hits. His ERA after 3 starts at 4.15. And Parnell throws a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
Last time we saw Parnell, he was facing Tulowitzki. It took him deep for a home run.
That was after Parnell threw a ball away, trying to make a play at the plate. Said that the play had no impact on him giving up the home run to Tulowitzki, the next batter. But, you know, for a still relatively inexperienced pitcher, you have to wonder.
Us pitchers will fib occasionally, Gary, after the game, but it definitely does. You know, you feel responsible when you come out there to help your team win, and when your defensive lapse causes your team not to win, absolutely plays with your psyche.
2-2 to Tulowitzki. Well, let me ask you in a broader sense. You know, we talked a lot at the beginning of the game today about Terry Collins and his comments to his team and to the media last night. And you've had a game here today where the Mets outfield defense has just been horrific. As a manager, once you've kind of gone out there and put yourself out to, I don't know if call out the team is the right phrase, but in terms of having that little meeting and making a point of saying we've got to play better and we've got to do the little things better, and then you have a game, the very next game, where more things go wrong. What do you do then?
Well, I know what you're saying. You're feeling as though
Tulowitzki crushes one to deep left field. Back goes Harris for a look, but that ball is out of here. Tulowitzki hammers one again against Parnell. 3 games, 3 home runs for Tulowitzki. He is having himself a season in a 4-day stretch in Flushing. 6-2 Colorado as the Rockies hit back-to-back home runs. Gonzalez and Tulowitzki both going deep. That's number 6 for Tulowitzki. Well, this is Monday.
Try to come inside, up and in. It cost him with the quick bat of Tulowitzki. The most interesting part of that is that his teammates seem to be just attracted to him like a magnet, and him running off that field and hitting the bat boy in the head is just I don't know, for a ball player it just says a lot about his personality. He includes everyone in his greatness. Again, almost the same pitch, but that looked like it was maybe a 4-seamer, but same exact spot as Monday night's home run.
Well, that one to the inside part of the plate. Yesterday was the pitch on the outside part of the plate that he took to right field. Giambi grounds one for Daniel Murphy to handle, and that's the second out of the inning. So things continue to go poorly for Bobby Parnell and the Mets. 6-2 Colorado. Let's check in with Kevin.
You know, guys, we've talked about Tulowitzki all series long, and you don't have to say much. You know, we've seen what he's done with his bat and with his glove, but his leadership, and there's just, you guys just said it, there's something about him that, you know, teammates follow him, but you talk to him and you see why. He gets it. And I asked him about this Rockies team on the road. Last year they were 31-50 on the road, just terrible. This year obviously off to a great start on the road, even though it's early. And I asked him, is this team better equipped to handle it? He's like, look, it is simple. It's a mentality. It's a mentality of thinking away from Coors Field the same way you do at home. And I said, give me an example. He said, well, for example, you come out here the other day. It's rainy, it's dreary, it's cold. Who cares? Go play the game. Go win the game. And just listening to those words as he spoke them, you believe it. And you could see why teammates follow this guy.
Well, who wouldn't want to follow a guy like that? And, you know, he's clearly put his stamp on this team, and he's put a huge hurt on the Mets.
Well, this is what I was talking about before. Not only with his teammates, but look at the bat boy, including him.
Might have a headache, but it'll be a nice headache. Good slider by a fastball by Parnell, and it's 2-2 to Lopez.
Guys, he studies baseball. You know, I mean, he watches. He tells me, you know, when he's home, he'll watch, you know, online, on the TV. He watches games all the time, all over the place. He'll tell me he flips on the Mets. He watches David Wright's at bats. He watches different pitchers. He's a student of the game. He's a fan of the game.
And he's quickly being recognized as one of the best players in the game. I mean, Pujols still has that tag for the moment, but Tulowitzki's stock is rising.
And they felt comfortable enough to give him a 10-year contract. You know why? Because they know it wouldn't change him. He's going to be Tulo.
You know, something else interesting, guys. In the offseason, he spends time and works out with the Rockies minor leaguers, which, you know, from an organizational standpoint, I mean, certainly there's so many guys today that are off living in different parts of the country and they do their own thing. So for him to take time to do that, what kind of precedent does that set throughout the whole organization?
Well, that's a great point, Kevin. Just he's saying, I'm not above any of you guys. And in fact, at some point, you're going to be helping us out. So getting to know the people around you is you know, he's not only a captain kind of guy for his baseball team. He'd be, if he chose business, he'd be a CEO guy. You know, he's that kind of leader.
To center field, Pagan moving back. He's got room, and Lopez retired to end the inning. But a crushing inning for the Mets. Carlos Gonzalez and Troy Tulowitzki, the heart of this Rockies team. They take them out back to back. And the Rockies now lead at 6-2. That 11 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Get live audio, pitch-by-pitch tracking, video highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Mets.com for details. Rockies now with a 4-run lead. Todd Helton comes in for defense, replacing Jason Giambi at first base. And Scott Hairston will lead off for the Mets in the 7th against Matt Belisle, who came in with 2 out and a runner at first to face Hairston. Didn't retire a batter, but got out of the inning on a caught stealing as Willie Harris was gunned down. It's too bad Helton comes in the game late after Dickey is gone, because those two were teammates at the University of Tennessee, but didn't get to face each other today. Dickey tells the story of when they were playing fall baseball, and of course Helton was a football player, so he'd come over in pads, take the pads off, take 2 at bats, hit a couple of home runs, put the pads back on, go back to football practice. 1-2 the count to Hairston.
Was Helton the backup to Manning?
Well, he was actually ahead of Peyton Manning at one point.
You don't stay ahead of him too long.
No. The Rockies have 2 former SEC quarterbacks, because Seth Smith used to back up Eli at Ole Miss.
Wow.
Breaking ball, and Hairston is down on strikes. There are the former Volunteer teammates. They were together for a couple of years at Tennessee. Helton a year ahead of Dickey.
Wow, some serious stats for RA. 38 wins in a college career.
Whereas that was long before he was a knuckleball pitcher. He was a mid-90s guy then, before he found out that he didn't have an ulnar collateral ligament. Josh Thole batting. Thole had a hit and run single in the 4th inning, 1 for 2 on the day. Late on the fastball from Belisle, and it's 0-2. Brad Emus has come out on deck to pinch hit. That story is now legendary about the Rangers drafting Dickey in the first round, and their trainer seeing a picture of him on the cover of Baseball America, and his arm was turned in a particular way that the trainer suspected there was something wrong with Dickey's arm. They had him checked out and found out he was born without an ulnar collateral ligament, which meant that he shouldn't be able to turn a doorknob, much less throw a pitch. And yet somehow he had been able to do that, and they took what had been a substantial bonus and trimmed it even more substantially.
By a tenth, I think, right? Just about?
Something like it was $500,000. It became $75,000, something like that. But Dickey was able to, he was able to pitch. It wasn't until other problems waylaid him and he had experienced a lack of success that he turned to the knuckleball, which has been his saving grace. Totally unhappy with his grip, so he goes the old-fashioned way for some dirt. Nothing artificial necessary. That's organic baseball.
There you go.
Oh, and Morales got nailed by that, and it's 3-2.
Well, I always talk to you guys about the hardest pitch for a catcher that surprises him is when he calls a fastball and the pitcher just buries it in the dirt, because it's hard for them to have that reaction to get down and block it. They don't think they ever have to block a fastball.
3-2 to Tulo, and he lifts one to left. Gonzalez coming toward the line, and that's the second out. So 2 up and 2 quickly set aside. Let's check out the answer to our AT&T trivia question. We mentioned that Carlos Gonzalez, the 5th Rocky to win the batting title. Who were the other 4? Well, the first one was Andres Galarraga in the first year that the Rockies existed in '93. Larry Walker won 3 of them. Todd Helton and Matt Holliday, all batting champs.
Walker, the greatest Canadian offensive player of all time in Major League Baseball? Have to be, I would guess.
You said offensive, right?
The offensive, yes.
That leaves Ferguson Jenkins out of the conversation.
Yeah, as the pitcher.
Brad Emus takes outside. I don't think there's really anybody else in the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think Matt Stairs quite qualifies, although he's had quite a career. The numbers on Dickey, the original bonus was $810,000. And then they gave him a token 75 grand once they found out he didn't have that ligament. He made up for it this past offseason.
He did.
Got the 2-year contract from the Mets. There's another 0 at the end of that contract now. And he is a happy guy. Not so happy with the way things are going today, though. As Emus takes off the plate, 2-2. Emus came off the bench, had a base hit in the game last night. Badly needed for Brad, who had been 0 for his previous 12.
I mentioned Larry Walker, but the Mets fan would love Jason Bay to take a nice run at him, wouldn't he?
Swing and a miss, and Emus is down on strikes. Belisle has himself a 1-2-3 inning. A couple of strikeouts along the way. On to the 8th, 6-2 Colorado. And some cabs all set to go. Hi, Rusty. That's a good boy. Tim Burdack on the mound for the Mets as we go to the 8th.
Last appearance gave up a hit and a walk in his third of an inning of work. See, the right-handed hitters have had their way so far. 429.
And he'll face Ian Stewart leading off in the 8th inning for Colorado. Stewart 0 for 2 and a walk today. It's one of the best online sources for Mets information, straight from a blogger as passionate about the team as you are, featuring a constant flow of the latest Mets news and opinion. Mets blog presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Ian Stewart, last time up, came up with 2 men on, banged one toward the middle of the diamond, and Reyes went beyond the bag and made a really nice snag to get a force play. But the Mets did not turn the double play, and the next batter, Jose Morales, hit one beyond Scott Hairston in right field for a double to drive in 2 that gave the Rockies the lead. That was in the 6th. And then Colorado tacked on 3 in the 7th on back-to-back homers by Gonzalez and Tulowitzki. And so what was a 2-0 Met lead is now a 6-2 deficit. R.A. Dickey went 6 1/3, allowed 5 runs and 8 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 1 home run. Bobby Parnell, who was greeted by Tulowitzki's blow, 2/3 of an inning, 1 run, 1 hit. Two and 2 to Stewart. Tulowitzki's going to wish he could stay here for a couple of months. 8 for 12 in this series, 3 homers, 7 RBIs. And a good slider by Burdack strikes out Stewart to start the 8th. 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. All right, Chris, here's Jose Morales. He turns around about right-handed against Tim Burdack, and he grounds one toward the hole. Reyes on the backhand, and the throw will come up well short of the mark, and Morales has himself an infield hit. His second hit of the game. And the Rockies have a 1-out base runner in the 8th. And now Matt Belisle will bat for himself. So Belisle's already got an inning and a third in relief. And with a doubleheader looming today, Jim Tracy will want another inning out of him. So Belisle, who has some experience swinging the bat, he at one time was a starting pitcher. Started 30 games for the Reds back in '07. Ball pops away from Tolley, no advance.
It's nice when you have a guy that can give you extra innings, especially on a doubleheader day.
Belisle's been so much more successful as a relief pitcher, particularly last year. Really the best year of his career so far. Rockies have put together one of the best collection of bullpen arms in the National League. Burdack thinks about second and then hesitates, and he almost lost the play at first. Just a brain cramp on Burdack's part. After faking to second, it just stuck in his hand for a while before he could figure out to throw it to first.
Well, when he gets the ball back at him, I think he was taking a look. And then when he went to first base, he just wasn't sure where he wanted to go with that baseball, and luckily just made the play.
Ronnie, this is a team that is caught in between right now.
Yeah, I agree.
You can see it in the outfield play, and you can see it on that last play. They're just overthinking every situation.
It's almost like they're playing not to make a mistake instead of just being aggressive and let the talent flow.
So now runner at second with 2 out. Dexter Fowler gets his 5th turn at bat. Fowler a single and a double, 2 for 4 on the day. Switch hitter bats right, and he pops one up. Should be playable for Davis. Drifting toward the stand. Now over comes Murphy to make the play. So Murphy nicely calling off Davis and making the catch to end the inning. A hit and one left to the bottom of the 8th. Mets down 4. By Pepsi Max, 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. By Verizon, 4G LTE, rule the air on the most advanced 4G network in the world. And by Audi. Matt Belisle, who's gone inning in the 3rd, struck out 2, given up no runs and no hits. Will stay on to pitch the 8th inning against the top of the Mets batting order. That's only with 6 outs to play with in this game. And another 27. First doubleheader of the season for the Mets. We're just looking for that one game that breaks them out of the malaise that they're in right now. Reyes has been on base twice today with a pop fly double and a walk, 1 for 2. Now has an 11-game hitting streak. And Jose watches wide, ball 1. That'll be Reyes, then Murphy and Wright as the Mets try and fight back here in the bottom of the 8th. Mets have been limited to 6 hits today, and of the 6, only 1 has been hit hard. Matt Reynolds, the lefty, up in the bullpen for the Rockies. David Wright drove a double into the right field corner in the 4th. Every other hit has been a pop fly or a ground ball off the first baseman's body, or a missed play at first base, or a little hit and run slap by Tulo. I mean, the Mets have not hit the ball with a great deal of authority today, even though they have 6 hits.
Well, I do have to say, since it's the best exhibition I've seen in a 4-game series since Mark Reynolds, the Diamondbacks, had that series where he only played in 3 of the games. He took one of the games off and hit 4 home runs in that series.
Tulowitzki will have himself another turn at bat in this game, and then another game later today. Who knows what he might accomplish. Mets will have Chris Capuano to try and keep him down in game 2. Capuano coming off a win in his first Mets start. Too high to Reyes and a full count. Veteran Matt Belisle in his 2nd year in Colorado. Here's a 3-2, and Reyes yanks one to right field. That's deep. Back goes Smith, looking up at the wall, and it's off the overhang. A home run. Jose Reyes with his first home run of the year off the Pepsi porch, and it gets the Mets back to 6-3. Reyes continues to swing the bat well. In the series, he has 2 doubles, 2 triples, and now his first home run of the season.
Boy, what a start Jose has gotten off to. Ball right in the middle of the plate. And we saw this exhibited in his finest year when he had 19 home runs in a season. Reyes has that combination of speed and power that makes it so difficult on a pitcher when you're facing that leadoff hitter.
Murphy takes a strike, and it's 1-1. Murphy 1 for 3 today. A fly ball double that Gonzalez lost in the sun back in the first. It wouldn't be a problem right now because the clouds have overtaken the sun. When to wear sunglasses in this ballpark has become an interesting proposition. Right back to Belial, who gets it at the midsection. When you had Gonzalez go out there on a sunny day without sunglasses, and now you have Carlos Beltran, who was wearing sunglasses at night in this ballpark.
That was the same game that Willie Harris lost the ball in the lights, and he was not going to have it happen to him. Which tells me that during the inning, balls off the bat, Beltran must have had a hard time, or had lost a couple at least.
Here's David Wright, who doubled back in the fourth and scored a run. Mets scored 2 in the fourth to grab a 2-0 lead. But the Rockies with a run in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, 3 in the seventh, before Reyes' home run here in the eighth made it 6-3.
Well, nice compact swing by Jose. See that front foot dig in, and that ball up in the strike zone. Nice short stroke. That's why he's gotten off to such a good start.
Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mode brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. Well, it's been a terrific start to Reyes' walk year. First 2 weeks of the season, as good as he could have hoped for, both offensively and defensively. Wright fouls it off. By the way, we were having the discussion earlier about Larry Walker being the greatest Canadian offensive player. There's a candidate to overtake him one of these days, other than Jason Bay, last year's National League MVP, and he's off to a pretty good start this year as well. Joey Votto out to right center field, slicing away, but Fowler has the speed to get there, and that's the second out. Votto's just crushing it right now.
Just such a dangerous hitter, because from the left side he has much power as a right-handed power hitter. Hit the ball that other way.
Jim Tracy on his way out to the mound. Belial's gone 2 innings in relief, and with the left-hand batting Davis coming up, he'll bring in the left-hander. So Matt Reynolds will come on. Rockies leading 6-3 in the bottom of the eighth. second appearance in this series.
Retired Daniel Murphy in last night's ball game from Austin P University in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Austin P, that's where Fly Williams went.
That's right, Fly.
Ike Davis up with 2 out and nobody on in the bottom of the 8th. Ike has walked twice today, scored a run, otherwise 0 for 1. The Mets down 3 as they bat in the bottom of the 8th after Reyes led off this 8th inning with a home run. And the breaking ball in for a strike from Reynolds, 0-1. So Greg Reynolds started, went the first 5 innings, and now Matt Reynolds trying to put a wrap on the 8th inning.
It's got to be hard for the traveling secretary on the road. You might get some unwarranted calls. Morales and Reynolds. Well, I tell you, if you can have a breaking ball like Reynolds is showing here, you can pitch in this league a long time if you're left-handed.
Reynolds just 26 years old, former first-round draft pick. Not too many, 20th round draft pick out of Austin P. Came up with the Rockies last year and pitched well. Up and in, 2-2. And Ike takes one right down the middle, strike 3 called. So Reynolds caught him observing. Inning over. Reyes with the home run, but the Mets down 6-3. We get continued coverage of today's Mets-Rockies doubleheader. Plus, the Rangers get ready for Game 2 after their overtime loss. Knicks and Celtics on Sunday night, and more highlights from around the National League East. All on Geico Sports Night tonight, starting at 10:30, only on SNY. Ryota Igarashi in to make his second appearance.
Well, Igarashi in his first appearance, like Parnell in that game, was unable to complete maybe a comebacker for a double play, but other than that, I thought he threw the ball pretty well. Gave up a broken bat hit later in that inning.
Seth Smith, Carlos Gonzalez, and the indomitable Troy Tulowitzki to bat in the 9th inning for the Rockies, who had not won 2 straight games in New York since 1998 and are 3 outs away from getting their 3rd straight. And Seth Smith takes wide for ball 1. Smith doubled to left center in the 7th and then continued on to 3rd when Angel Pagan couldn't pick it up cleanly. Also drove in a run with a ground out, 1 for 4 on the day. And he pops one up, foul out of play.
Houston Street and Rafael Betancourt in the bullpen. You know, I've told this story before, but it bears worth repeating because of what Tulowitzki's done today. Had a game where I pitched against John Olerud. He was 4 for 4 against me. I asked Walt Weiss, to play with the Rockies, to come in from shortstop. I said, what should I do? He said, just take the ball and throw it in the gap. At least you keep him in the yard. That's kind of the series that Tulowitzki's have.
Well, you know, Terry Collins before the game today was asked the question, and it basically went like this, that there are certain players who reached a certain stature in the game, like a Barry Bonds, like an Albert Pujols, who in that 5th inning yesterday, you wouldn't have thought twice. You're going to walk him every time. And the question was, what does Tulowitzki have to do to reach that stature where he's that kind of automatic guy? And the answer is, the more series he has like this, I mean, Terry didn't even really answer the question, but that's the answer, is that you keep doing it long enough and you keep burning enough teams in big spots, and eventually they're going to walk you. 3-1 to Smith, and a swing and a miss and a good fastball by Igarashi, 3-2.
Well, I think the problem you have with Tulowitzki and why you might think in the future of making an adjustment on whether you're going to go after him or not is we've seen him hit just about every pitch you can throw. Everything from up and in to down and away. And if a batter can do that to you, that means you can't really pitch to him. There's not a hole to go at to retire him, at least in this series.
(3-2), and Smith fouls it back. Tim Burdack worked a scoreless inning in the 8th, gave up no runs, 1 hit. Now Igarashi, the 4th Met pitcher of the day. And on 3-2, Smith takes the splitter for a call, strike 3. So a strikeout for Igarashi to start the 9th. Let's see what's coming up on Lincoln Postgame Live. Check in with Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda. I like that. I don't think I've ever heard that expression for the second game of a doubleheader, the back 9. Perfect.
You're going to get way too many golf references from me and Bobby O.
Carlos Gonzalez takes ball 1. Gonzalez hit a 2-run homer, almost off his ankles his last time up. That ended R.A. Dickey's afternoon. For Gonzalez, it was his first home run of the season. And he pops this one up into center field. Angel Pagan comes in to grab it. 2 out. Well, here's your Home Depot doing more on defense, about the only thing that's gone wrong for Tulowitzki in this series.
Oh, just beautiful play and pumped up R.A.
Tulowitzki today 3 for 4, 2 singles, and his 6th home run of the year, 3 of the 6 coming in this series. Bats here with 2 out and nobody on. You know, Carney Lansford is now the hitting coach for the Rockies, and maybe that's just another boost for Tulowitzki, who has known Lansford since he was a little kid.
Well, the great thing about Carney's got 2 sons that pitch in the Oakland A's organization, and they all played on the same travel team. Carney probably had a lot to do with the early years of Troy.
It's a good job being the hitting coach in Colorado.
I could be the hitting coach in Colorado. No disrespect, Carney, ex-teammate of mine, one of my favorite teammates of all time, and like Tulowitzki, he got respect more than any player that I'd ever played with. Keith is second, because Keith was more of a guy that would be engaging with his teammates. Carney just got the ultimate respect from his teammates, to the point of if the Oakland A's lost the game, no one went to the post-game spread to eat until Carney did. And if he didn't go to eat it, no one ate after the game.
Wow. Three and one to Tulowitzki. It's the greatest sign of respect there is, because, you know, baseball's one thing, but food.
Especially after a long game, right?
I know how it works up here.
That's right.
And another strike, 3-2. Deny Keith that hot dog. He's going to have an angry first baseman up here.
It's the Cracker Jacks, really. He cannot go without.
Now Igarashi with the 3-2. And Tulowitzki checks his swing. Did he go? Nope. And Tulowitzki's aboard for the fourth time in this game. Igarashi wanted the call, but the young first base umpire Corey Blazer said no.
Yeah, he was in the middle of controversy earlier. He felt like he should stay out of it this time, but I thought that Tulowitzki went, and he played it off really well by tossing the bat and proceeding to first.
Now Todd Helton will bat for the first time in the game. Came on for defense, replacing Jason Giambi. Helton 2 for 5 in this series after missing a few games because of back trouble, which has been a theme for Helton the last couple of years. And he takes ball one.
So with the naked eye, I thought he went. Let's see. You judge it, Gary.
That's a swing.
Yes, absolutely.
But this is this week, the week of April 11th through the 14th. It's the week that Tulowitzki can do no wrong.
That's right. If he had made contact, that would have been a double down the line.
Don't forget, game 2 of our doubleheader coming up right after this one. Chris Capuano goes in game 2 for the Mets. Jorge De La Rosa for Colorado. And after keeping a close eye on the fingernail of R.A. Dickey in game 1, we'll be keeping tabs on De La Rosa and his blister in game 2. And Helton lifts one out to left center. Pagan has room. And that retires the side. So Igarashi pitches a hitless top of the ninth. Now the Mets with their final swings. Angel Pagan to lead off in the bottom of the ninth. is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Game of Thrones, only on HBO. By BMW, the ultimate driving machine. By Geico. And by AT&T, rethink possible. Well, Houston Street has 6 saves in the first 10 games of the season for Colorado. Since the save rule was enacted in 1969, only 4 other pitchers have done it.
Wow. Well, he's off to a great start. And the thing about Street is that he is probably not like a lot of closers where their stuff just gets them by. He's a crafty reliever with a lot of heart.
Well, he has saved each of the first 2 games of this series, in each case a 1-run game. Pitched a 1-2-3 ninth on Monday and did the same again last night. Pagan, Harris, and Hairston due up for the Mets in the last of the ninth, with the Rockies up 6-3. And Angel takes the first pitch on the inside edge, 0-1. Angel 0 for 2, had a sacrifice fly to drive in a run in the 4th. Mets in danger of their 4th straight loss and their 7th in their last 8 games, unless they have a rally here in the bottom of the 9th, with another game to play today. Street trying to save it for Greg Reynolds, who went the first 5 innings, allowed 2 runs and 5 hits. There's Harris on deck. Franklin Morales went 2/3 of an inning before he hurt his ankle and had to leave. Matt Belisle worked 2 innings, gave up the Reyes home run. Matt Reynolds got the only out he was asked to get as he struck out Ike Davis. And now Street, the 5th Colorado pitcher of the game. Two and 1 to Pagan, and Angel strokes one foul, 2-2. It'll be interesting to see the Mets lineup for game number 2. You can assume that Beltran will play, and that Emis will be in the lineup against the left-hander. But with only 4 bench players, there aren't all that many options right now.
I don't think you can, you know, you got to put the hammer down and try to get a win in the second game. This can't be resting anybody. I think you're going to see the lineup. You're going to see Wright. You're going to see Reyes. Emis at second. Ike Davis. Everyone's got to play.
What about Tolley? Would he play against the lefty, or would you use Nickias?
No, I would use Nickias.
Pagan reaches for one, dumps one to left, and on comes Gonzalez to grab it for the out. Nice job by Carlos Gonzalez to close ground on that bloop for the first out of the 9th.
Boy, that ball was a flat-out hit, huh? When it went off the bat, and Gonzalez with that great speed just closed the gap.
So now Willie Harris is 1 for 3 on the day. The hit was questionable at best. That was the play Morales got hurt, where Harris stepped on Morales' shoe, took the shoe off, and sprained Morales' ankle, or so it appeared. And Harris was called safe at first, even though Morales probably touched the bag, and Harris might not have, because he stepped on Morales' shoe instead of the base. 1-1, but it's a hit, and Willie will take it. Mets have had 7 hits in this game. The Rockies have had 10.
I might be asking you a question you don't know, but are you allowed by Major League Baseball rules in a doubleheader to have someone in the vicinity in case you had to use a relief pitcher, say 3 1/3, and he would not be available for the second game? Deactivate that player and activate a new one?
Yes, you can make player moves between games of a doubleheader.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm thinking about Morales. You know, what if he can't go and has really injured his ankle?
Well, in the case of the Rockies, I would doubt that they would have anybody close by. I think it more applies to the Mets, who are already planning to use a relief pitcher to start tomorrow night. Harris hits one in the air down the left field side, and Gonzalez over near the crowd, but it goes out of play. And of course, the Rockies are far from home and far from their AAA affiliate in Colorado Springs, whereas the Mets, you know, are an hour plane ride away from Buffalo, where their AAA team resides.
Because you know you can just take a cab ride from Buffalo like Igarashi did.
It's been done. Three and two now to Harris, with Scott Hairston on deck. If the Mets could get a couple of men on, you got Beltran available to pinch hit. That's about the only move that Terry has at his disposal. And Harris just got a piece to stay in the at bat. The other two players on the bench are Hu and Nikias, with Emis having already been used as a pinch hit. Well, at first they'd have to get a couple of men on. Again, the 3-2, and Harris takes ball 4, and there's the first one. So the Mets need one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate here in the bottom of the ninth, and Scott Hairston will try and be that guy. Hairston 1 for 3, blooped a single to drive in a run in the fourth, making just his third start of the year. That's the first base runner the Mets have managed in 3 games against Houston Street. He had been 7 up and 7 down before that walk to Harris. And now Hairston watches wide ball 1. And for a guy like Street, who does paint corners, you've got a home plate umpire, Darryl Cousins, who has that rather small strike zone.
I mean, Street's going to have to square it up a little bit, catch a little more of the plate, which should give an advantage to the Mets.
And that misses. And I think Street really wanted that one, but didn't get the call. 1-1. 2-0, excuse me. That's hard to figure, that Hairston is swinging 2-0 with his team down by 3 runs in the ninth.
Agreed. You need base runners, so that's a pitch that has always been a pitch that people take in that situation, but Hairston swinging.
And that catches the corner. Now it's 2-2. Josh Thole waiting on deck. It's trying to give themselves a chance in the bottom of the ninth, down 6-3. One out and one on, 2-2 to Scott Hairston. And it's pulled down the left field line, foul. It really is a beautiful day to sit and watch baseball. Especially if you can catch that little pocket of sun. Again, the 2-2 to Hairston. And a high fly ball deep left field. Back goes Gonzalez back toward the corner, and it's out of here. Scott Hairston with his first home run as a New York Met. A 2-run shot. And he gets the Mets back within a run at 6-5. Now, it's been a rough start for Hairston. He had a difficult day in the field, but that solves a lot of ills. His first home run, and the Mets are right back within a run.
Well, boy, that's more of the swing I saw when he was in San Diego and in spring training this year. A lot shorter stroke. That ball inside, got to it, put the good part of the bat on the ball, and anything down the line here, you have a much better shot, of course.
So now the Mets with a chance in the last of the ninth. Thole at the plate. Beltran has come out on deck to pinch hit. Thole 1 for 3 on the day. And Street misses wide for ball 1. So the Mets, who got the home run from Reyes in the 8th, now a 2-run shot from Hairston in the 9th, and 6-2 has become 6-5. 2-0. And now Morales goes out to talk to Street. K-Rod gets up. In case the Mets tie it up, he would pitch the 10th. Bob Apodaca, the Rockies pitching coach, heads to the mound to talk to Street.
Well, the Mets involved in another 1-run game against the Colorado Rockies here. Street just a little off with his control, getting behind in the count, and I talked about it before. He's a real savvy veteran, a guy that works the corners, but he doesn't have the flat-out 95 miles an hour that when he gets behind, he's able to really challenge the hitters.
He's not walked many. Last year, only 11 walks in 47 innings. The year before, 13 walks in 61 innings. So walks are a rarity for Street, but he's already walked one in this inning. And behind 2-0 on Tulo. Gave up 5 home runs last season, and now has given up the home run to Hairston. Let's see if Tulo takes a pitch here on 2-0. And he does, and it's a strike, 2-1. And Tulo fouls it off. And now it's even 2-2.
I can't think of another team that could use a bloop in the blast like the Mets could.
Well, the blaster's on deck. Tulo trying to provide the bloop. 2-2 from Street. Low, ball 3. And now a full count to Josh Tulo. And it's not coming nearly as easily for Houston Street today. Three and 2 to Josh Tulo. And it's hit toward the middle, base hit. And the Mets have the tying run aboard. Josh Tulo with his second hit of the day. And now Beltran will come to the plate, representing the winning run. Pinch hitting has not been a forte for Beltran. It's not something he's been called upon to do very much, but he does have one pinch hit home run in his career. Well, sitting out game 1 today. Terry Collins asked him after the game last night which game he preferred to play, and he said he'd rather play the second, give him a little more rest for those knees. He's been swinging the bat brilliantly over the last week. 2 for 4 last night. Matt Lindstrom gets up in the Colorado bullpen. Beltran has 2 home runs this year. They both came as a right-hand batter. And he takes up and away for ball 1. This is a very different and less sharp Houston Street than we've seen the last 2 games. Almost 1 for 3 against Street. Tying run at first and 1 out. 2-0. Looks as though Street is aiming the ball right now.
It looks like he's pitching hurt the way he's throwing the ball up there. Or at least not at his best, maybe because of the work.
Now it's 2-0 to Beltran. And Carlos swings and pops one foul. Headed toward the dugout. Out of play. And they've got a 2-0 pitch. Looking to drive one and make something happen.
Street made a good pitch, though. He kept it down. That's the key against Carlos in this situation. Anything up in the strike zone is where his power's at. See that ball knee high? Raise that another 4 or 5 inches. It'll be right where he likes it for the hit with power.
Two and 1 to Beltran. And Carlos rips one into right field for a base hit. Tulo goes to second and pulls in there. And the Mets now have the tying and potential winning runs on base with Reyes coming up with 1 out. So Beltran comes through as a pinch hitter. A walk and 3 straight hits after 1 out in the 9th. And now Reyes, who homered his last time up, will come up, but he won't face Street. He'll face Matt Lindstrom instead. So Jim Tracy doing what a lot of managers are reluctant to do, pulling their closer with the save opportunity still intact. And he'll go with the hard-throwing Lindstrom to try and close it out with the Mets trying to rally in the bottom of the 9th. of the ninth. Chin Lung Hu comes in to run for Josh Tolley, carrying the tying run at second base. Carlos Beltran is on first. Matt Lindstrom tries to bail out Houston's streak.
Well, Lindstrom so far in his career has shown that he throws the X-Man, throws in a 95 plus. He's got that good breaking ball. The one thing that's the Achilles heel for Matt at times is his control. And the outfielder, Tulo and Gonzalez, we saw him earlier in the series throw up Pagano second, the best arm out there. Fowler's arm in center field, good but erratic. And Seth Smith probably has the most accurate arm out there, but has speed issues. Hard for him to charge the ball the way the other two outfielders can.
Jose Reyes comes to bat with the tying and potential winning runs on base. Reyes faced Lindstrom last night and flied out against him. Lindstrom pitched a 1-2-3/8 in that game. Hu and Beltran the base runners with one down, last of the ninth, 6-5 Colorado. Reyes homered his last time up, hit one off the Pepsi porch in right field for his first of the year. He also has a pop fly double in this game and a walk. He's 2 for 3. And there are his career numbers against Lindstrom. And Lindstrom ready to go. And Reyes, first pitch swinging, bounces the 97-mile-an-hour fastball foul. You got everybody back on the infield with the exception of Stewart, the third baseman, who's pretty much even with the bag. Have been playing in against Reyes the whole series, but the situation certainly does not call for Reyes to do anything but swing the bat. Lindstrom began his professional career as a Mets farmhand, pitching against his old organization. And Reyes taps one slowly to second. Lopez gets the out at second, and that's all. Who advances to third with the tying run, but now the Mets are down to their final out. So a 4-6 force play erases Beltran. Reyes now carrying the winning run at first. Would you consider sending him to get that run at the scoring position with Murphy at the plate? Lindstrom
takes a long time to deliver the baseball to home plate. He's a 1.4, 1.5 guy, so definitely vulnerable to the steal.
Murphy today is 1 for 4 in a fly ball that Carlos Gonzalez lost in the sun for a double back in the first. Murphy 4 for 7 this year with runners in scoring position. Tying run at third, Hu. Winning run at first, Reyes, 2 down. And Murphy takes it in the dirt, spiked by Lindstrom, and Morales fortunate to get in front of that ball and keep the tying run from scoring.
Boy, I tell you, these catchers are something with the pressure on and a ball just thrown right into the dirt. Gets it right on the inside of his leg to keep that in front of him.
That's not the way they teach you to block the ball, but that was an emergency situation.
At 97, you cannot get out in front of that baseball. You just try to make yourself as big as possible.
Murphy looking for a fastball to hit against Lindstrom. There goes Reyes. The 1-0 is low. No throw by Morales, and now a base hit could win it for New York. So they made the decision to let Reyes go, but that's the winning run.
Well, that's an interesting call. I'd have to at least try to hold him close. I mean, this is the major leagues. You want to take a shot at Reyes there. Letting him go could cost him the game.
So now Murphy looking for the hold that could produce a victory. Lindstrom behind 2-0. And that fastball finds the corner, 2-1. If Murphy walks, then it would be left to David Wright.
Well, that was a good take by Murph. Nothing you could do with that pitch. 97 on the corner. Here's David.
On 2-1, Murphy takes inside and low, ball 3. It might be in Wright's hands in a moment.
Well, Murph's got to know he's going to get a pitch middle of the plate away. Tracy hanging his head in the dugout. Shooting that ball to left field is going to be his play. Up the middle, working the other way.
Three and 1 to Daniel Murphy. And he grounds one foul. 3-2. Who the tying run at third. Reyes the potential winning run at second. 2 down last of the ninth. That's got in the position with a 2-run homer from Scott Hairston here in the ninth.
Well, I know it's early in the season, but if any team needs a walk-off hit, it's these New York Mets.
3-2. Low ball 4. Bases loaded, and David Wright coming up. Bob Apodaca will visit the mound. And it's all in David Wright's hands now against Matt Lindstrom. David has done very well against Lindstrom in the past. 4 hits in 10 career at-bats. Today, 1 for 4. He rifled a double into the right field corner and scored a run back in the 4th. R.A. Dickey is on the hook in this game. Hoping the Mets can revive him. Who is at third? Reyes at second and Murphy at first with 2 out. Bases loaded. Mets down by a run in the bottom of the ninth. The hard-throwing but erratic Lindstrom has faced 2 batters and walked one of them. And Wright lays off. 1-0. Such a thin line between patience and aggression here against a potentially wild pitcher. Where a walk could force in the tying run. David with 4 career grand slams. He'd settle for a single right now. And Morales somehow knocked that one down to keep that tying run at third. That's 2 of them.
Well, this is lucky here. Just backhands it and runs up his arm. Luckily that ball did not go to the backstop. Lindstrom again held on to that baseball a little too long. Lindstrom is one of those guys, almost like a football mentality. You see him out there. He's very excitable. Sometimes it affects his control.
Had a very rough year in Houston last year. Now trying to save one in New York. 2-0 to Wright. That's a strike. 2-1. So now David can get to hitting. Two-1 from Lindstrom, and Wright lays off. Ball 3. A walk would force in the tying run. A base hit could win it for New York. Boo and Reyes, the only guys that matter. Wright trying to make it happen in the bottom of the ninth. On 3-1, David hits one foul. And now it's all gone to the limit. The merry-go-round will be in motion. Everybody will be on their way with 3-2 and 2 down. Terry Collins has been waiting for the big 2-out hit. The situation presents itself here for David Wright. Sometimes that air is hard to come by. Everybody gets set to run. Hit in the air to right field. Smith going back. Warning track, staggering, but makes the catch, and the ball game is over. David Wright making a bid to the opposite field, hitting it toward the Pepsi porch, but it came up short. Smith reeled it in. Lindstrom hangs on, and the Rockies have taken the first 3 games of this series, handing the Mets their 4th consecutive loss.
Boy, all by 1 run. And if you look at this game, after they scored a couple runs in the 4th, they got the leadoff hitter in the 5th and 6th, the Mets did, on walks and hit into double plays. And this final out by Lindstrom, a 3-2 pitch, runners going. And David, nice at bat, gets a good part of the baseball back there to right, and an inexperienced Smith in this ballpark navigated that Mo zone back there and made the catch.
You have to see a side angle to know how close that ball came to hitting the overhang. The overhang hangs about 8 feet over the playing surface above that mow zone. It had to come awfully close, but Smith got back there to make the catch, and by that margin, the Rockies hang on. As we look at the Chase game summary, Dickey takes the loss after he gave up the home run to Carlos Gonzalez in the 7th inning. He left after 6 1/3. The Mets battle back on home runs by Reyes and Hairston in the final 2 innings and leave them loaded in the 9th as the Rockies win the opener of the doubleheader 6-5 to go to a Major League Best 9-2 on the season. Coming up after a short break, it's game 2 of our doubleheader. It'll be Chris Capuano making his second start for the Mets against Jorge De La Rosa. Now for Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY crew, time to go to the studio for Lincoln Postgame Live. Let's join Bobby Ojeda and Chris Carlin.